Good morning, America. Welcome to RSBN Live with a very foggy Washington, D.C. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Auburn, Alabama, the loveliest village on the plains, as we await President Trump to attend the G7 summit in stunning Alberta, Canada. We have some pictures of that from a personal trip a few years ago, so we'll show that later in the broadcast. But President Trump leaving yesterday, speaking to reporters, also addressing what's taking place between Israel and Iran, and having optimism with the fact that they'll have to sort this out, battle one another, but that there could be a big, beautiful deal on the horizon. Of course, over the weekend, we were at the 250th birthday party of the United States Army. A wonderful celebration. Always a joy to be with fellow media colleagues and to see you, the great American patriots who turned out in droves for a celebration that culminated in 3 hours of music festivities, hearing from the President of the United States, seeing military leadership and the generations of uniforms and different equipment, including the Abrams tanks and those new dogs. Did you catch that in the parade? Those robot dogs that will assist in the future of warfare. And God willing, we do not have to use it. But President Trump leaving every option on the table. And again, Mr. President, happy birthday. We hope you enjoyed the day as much as we did. In addition, enjoying a lovely dinner with family at the White House. So it was quite a weekend for President Trump as he's now meeting with G7 counterparts. We'll have all of that action brought to you in real time. So stick with us on this beautiful Monday morning as we dive into the MAGA agenda as it goes abroad to that beautiful future 51st state. Right now, it's a province in Canada and perhaps the most beautiful in Alberta. It's cowboy country out in Western Canada, and we'll take you there live for all of the action. Now, last night, President Trump, before leaving aboard Air Force One, enjoyed a press gaggle, answered some questions from the media with the in-town White House pool, and we could take you to that video to showcase what the president had to say and just those questions that were coming from the media right there at the White House. Mr. Director, if that video happens to be ready. Great, we'll have that in a moment for you so you can see what this president is ready, willing, and able to do leading up to this great meeting. Just to recap what took place over the weekend, in case you missed it, I hope you did not miss it. We had quite the viewership online. President Trump celebrates the United States Army, 250 years young, with the iconic Grand Parade. Before we were a constitutional republic, the Second Continental Congress put together this Army for you, the American people. Last night, President Trump, and this was over on Saturday night, along with First Lady Melania Trump, along with the members of his administration and military leaders, joined veterans, active duty troops, wounded veterans, and Gold Star families for a patriotic celebration. And Lee Greenwood, too. God bless the USA. Nothing better, all culminating in fireworks over that Washington monument to celebrate the 250th birthday of the United States Army. We now have that video ready for you from yesterday. President Trump leaving the White House en route to Joint Base Andrews.
So we're going to Canada. Last night was a tremendous success with a fantastic audience. It was supposed to rain. They gave it a 100% chance of rain, and it didn't rain at all. It was beautiful. And so I asked if they gave it 100% chance, right? 100% it was going to rain like crazy, and it didn't rain at all. How did they predict 100 years out and 50 years out or 200 years out? They didn't do too well, the weather people, last night, but it was beautiful.
President, are you and Prime Minister Netanyahu on the same page concerning how to deal with Iran?
Well, we get along very well, and I will tell you that I think we have great respect for each other. Go ahead, what?
Mr. President, can you give us a sense of what de-escalate the situation between Iran and Israel?
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal. What? So the protesters, if we didn't have the National Guard on call and ready, they would rip Los Angeles apart. They come and they check and they say, is the National Guard going to be there? And if the National Guard's being there, they don't even show up.
Have you asked Israel to pause their airstrikes into Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that.
Mr. President, do you expect to have some trade deals announced at the G7 summit coming up?
Look, we have our trade deals. All we have to do is send a letter. This is what you're going to have to pay. But I think we'll have a few new trade deals, yeah.
Will the U.S. continue to support the defense of Israel? Will the U.S. continue to support Israel in its defense?
We do, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody.
Last night, President Trump boarding Air Force One en route to Alberta, Canada, where we will take you live for G7 summit meetings. An amazing time in this great country, as it's important to protect your health in this day and age. President Trump recently signed a new executive order bringing down the cost of pharmaceutical drugs, prescription drugs, so that you don't go bankrupt and have to choose between your health and your finances. This is a major step in the right direction, but All Family Pharmacy is not waiting around. They are a great online pharmacy for you at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN now through June 30th. Pay less for prescription meds and get that 20% off with code RSBN20. They offer 200 essential medications, including ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, emergency medical kits, among other great assets. Think about this. When you're on a trip, especially traveling in the summer, how good would it be to have those essential medications with you? What about a storm coming through and you not having access to your pharmacy, to an urgent care, to a doctor? Well, this online pharmacy can take care of that. with no insurance, no waiting room, no hassles, just the prescriptions and doctors ready to bring that right to your doorstep. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors, in fact, and ships directly to your door. So really no worries when it comes to these life-saving medications. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN20, 20% off now through June 30th. After you take care of your health, you could then look towards your retirement, all that you worked hard for in this great country. Why is China dumping these U.S. bonds? We know this is happening right now. We know they've bought up prime American farmland around our military bases. And thank God that President Trump and Republican governors dealing with this on a daily basis. But look, I don't like the doom talk. I mean, we just had a great celebration over the weekend, and we want to continue in this golden era of festivities. Regardless, Communist China is plotting a financial Pearl Harbor against you and your family. And this devastating amount of actions that they have taken could really affect the dollar. Your IRA and 401k, all of your savings could be right in the crosshairs. Protect yourself now with gold and silver from Colonial Metals Group. They are the best in the business. In fact, Judge Jeanine Pirro, that great D.C. prosecutor, federal jurisdiction of the District of Columbia, she is quite fantastic. She's a great patriot, and she loves this group. So do we here at the network. Scan the QR code now or go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. We want our our viewers to save up to 100% of their gold tax-free. Think about that for a moment. To get gold tax-free, the one inflation-proof asset that has heads turning, it's gold, it's silver. Think about 1971 when the Nixon administration went off of the gold standard. The value of gold going through the roof, over 7,000% in value, in fact. And when you call the trustworthy experts today, do not delay. 866-317-2159. That's 866-317-2159. Or go to that freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You'll receive your free 2025 no obligation gold guide, so you can find out what's best for you and yours. And you stand a chance to receive up to $7,500 in free silver. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Call 866-317-2159. Thank you to our sponsors right here on the right side of history, Colonial Metals Group, as we really celebrate what took place over the weekend, as we gear up for this focus in the G7 and the discussions that will be on the table, including the conflict between Iran and Israel. Also, President Trump going to Canada to meet with G7 counterparts. These are the largest economies in the entire world and dear friends of ours. And perhaps more of that discussion with Prime Minister Mark Carney as he visited the White House a few weeks back. What did he say there? He said, Mr. President, Canada's off the table. Our 10 provinces, our territories. No, it's not going to happen. But then President Trump, with that charm, looked right back at them and said, never say never, Mr. Carney. It might just happen. So we'll see if this is the future 51st state. But right now, the beautiful Alberta, Canada, President Trump, just yesterday from Joint Base Andrews, that is a look there from last night's flight. He is now there in Alberta, Canada. But what a sight it is to see the beautiful Air Force One. Really iconic, as this past Saturday was an iconic grand parade, wrapped up a day of festivities celebrating the legacy of the United States Army and the generations who have sacrificed, the heroes who protected our country with strength, with grit, determination. And many of them, if you go back to World War II, those who are still fortunate enough to be with us today, they actually did not tell the truth on their papers regarding their age so they can go and serve. Think about this, teenagers, 15, 16-year-olds going overseas to defend our great nation. Boldly, with true valor and love for this amazing country. It's something that we celebrate here on the right side of history as we stand on the shoulders of patriots. As President Trump remarked, Tonight, we affirm with unwavering certainty that in the years ahead and every generation, hence, whenever duty calls, whatever danger comes, the American soldier will be there. No matter the risks, no matter the obstacles, our warriors will charge into battle. They will plunge into the crucible of fire. They will seize the crown of victory because the United States of America will always have the grace of Almighty God and the iron will of the United States Army, now 250 years young. And for me, it was the fireworks over the Washington Monument. We were just to the side of that beautiful monument, that obelisk that is going up to God. We know that George Washington, the father of our country, a devout Christian, and to see all of the great patriots surrounded there. In fact, Mr. Director and I, as we were walking back, even to and from, you might have seen one protester, one goofy sign, and good on them. It's their freedom of speech to do that. Nothing really necessarily inspired us or changed our minds about this big, bold, beautiful celebration. So I think the impending rain that was trickled down slightly, but it kept getting pushed back and back and back in the forecast, might have scared them off. But in other cities, you might have had a few more protesters, even including here in Auburn, Alabama, but none in the capital city, none in the federal city that at least made a major difference or dampened the birthday celebration that was the Army's 250th this past Saturday, coinciding with Flag Day, coinciding with President Trump's 79th birthday, a star-studded event. And I'm looking back on the pictures now, just amazing to see those flyovers as well, the Tomahawks, including equipment and planes, tanks, infantry units from all the generations, all of the conflicts we've been involved with, these battles, these wars where we liberated continents, brought freedom to people, and in turn asked really for nothing in exchange. That's the might of the American military. As let's go there live now from yesterday, President Trump taking off from Joint Base Andrews. And always an iconic sight to see, Air Force One taking off from Joint Base Andrews to beautiful Canada, Alberta, Canada, to be specific, for President Trump's G7 meeting with leaders from around the world, and Prime Minister Mark Carney hosting this lovely event. A beautiful time of year to visit the great nation of Canada that might become the 51st state. Let me tell you, it will help with those fishing licenses up there. So it might be a little bit easier to get up there and enjoy the game of fishing and hunting amongst nature's most picturesque scenes. Truly, Northwest Canada, going up into Alaska, God is just showing off there with his majesty. Those mountains are quite amazing. The Canadian Rockies, so staggering in sight, really hard to explain. We'll show some of those pictures from my trip later on in the broadcast as we thank Kalshi.com. This is a great way to trade on the most important events in America. Like Mr. Spawn, who won the U.S. Open yesterday in golf. You can talk about that, trade on those. Who was going to make it out, who was going to get out of the rain delay and become victorious. Of course, JJ winning his first major there. Also, who will win the Stanley Cup too. Will Canada become the 51st state? Will egg prices continue to go down? All of those important questions that affect politics, culture, the American way of life, amongst things going on around the world. It's kalshi.com/RSBN, your go-to. Right under my chin there, scan that QR code there for all of the great bets and trades that you can make. Also, angelpaste.com. Experience that miracle today out of Spring, Texas, the Lone Star State off of the Gulf of America. This amazing company is specializing in hiring veterans. They are Christian-based, and they love America. So what's better? They're non-GMO and no chemicals, in fact. So pretty much they're the perfect American company for you. You've seen me try their miracle cream here on the show. Vitamin B infused, goes right into your skin, and you don't have to worry about, oh, goodness gracious, what did I put on myself? So this is a great option. Also explore what the other things they have, from a facial spray to a natural mosquito repellent, also an immunity option, the orange vitamin C infused. Great stuff for you as you enjoy your summer barbecues and your vacations in this beautiful time of year. Angelpaste.com. Experience the miracle today. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. And it is getting close to the 10:30 time slot as President Trump will be meeting with G7 counterparts all in beautiful Canada. And we'll be bringing that to you likely at 11 o'clock Eastern time. So good morning, America. I'm Robert McNeely. Always a joy to be with you on the right side of history, and a very good morning on that Golden Coast, the West Coast. If you're just waking up with us, we hope you're enjoying your first or second cup of coffee and diving into all of the news of today. And we do know that one of the big dialogues, if you were with us earlier, the questions of Israel and Iran, we're praying for the safety of Israel. We know that they would not have taken this preemptive strike unless they were certain that this was to defend their homeland. We've known for years and years now. In fact, there was a maniac who was terminated by the United States in the first term of President Trump, who actually has on his gravestone that he wanted to be remembered for destroying the Zionist Jewish state. These are people, the Iranian mullahs, the Ayatollah, and all of the leadership there, these theocratic monsters going out there saying that America is the great Satan, that Jews are cockroaches. How terrible. I hate even saying it. The fact that those words are coming out of my mouth makes me sick to my stomach, because I have countless Jewish friends, and they are the mother religion of my own religion. They're good people, and they've been such American-loving patriots for countless generations now. And post-World War II, the state of Israel being constructed out of a UN and British idea of the original homeland of the Jewish people. They are truly the Palestinians. They are the people who were originally occupants of that land. And yet they are surrounded by enemies and extremist factions of Arab and Muslim populations that want to drive them out. Now, fortunately, with the Abraham Accords, with the great people of Egypt and the Gulf states, they have all come together to say, no, we need to stop this generational warfare. We need to trade. We need peace through strength for all of our peoples. We can live in harmony. And it remains today that Israel is the one democracy in the Middle East where you can worship freely. The Iranian government doesn't see it the same way. They don't see mutually assured destruction like the rest of the world does, willing to use nuclear weapons. So God be with the Israeli military, Mossad, and all those defending their right to live, literally, against annihilation. Think about that movie Independence Day from 1996, the blockbuster summer hit, when the United States forces took on foes from deep, deep in the universe. It's a sci-fi alien movie, but it's also a pro-America, good feel movie for the summertime about our founding documents and about everything we hold dear and what we share with friends across the world. I remember President Whitmore, played by Bill Pullman, that message of, we are not this time defending against oppression or a different way of life or even a different kind of governance, simply annihilation. That's what the Jewish people have to deal with. So think and pray about them as you enjoy your summertime celebrations. And in turn, they are doing the world a favor. And God be with those who maybe perhaps can make Iran a better place. As President Trump has said, he wants it to be a big, beautiful, successful place. And maybe it will be the new generations of Iranian people of Persian descent who will come together to make a new dawn, a new day for the Iranian people. Thank you to our sponsors on the right side of history. Tax Network USA, the day might have passed of April 15th, but do not delay. Call today on this beautiful Monday morning, 800-357-1415. Settle your back taxes today. Protect yourself from the IRS. Visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Again, 800-357-1415 is what you need to do. If you missed the April 15th deadline or still owe those back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you want to make things better because it could get kind of tough if you just ignore paying taxes. With over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily and tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at all levels we haven't seen in years. An increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. But the good news is Tax Network USA, the Patriot experts, are here for you today. Self-employed or a business owner, you might be one of those. Even if your books are a mess, these expert patriots can take care of it today and prevent financial chaos for what you are trying to sell to your customers. Getting you back on track, getting you there fast. Even after the deadline, it's not too late to regain control. Your consultation is completely free. Again, completely free, so give them a call today and don't get surprised as the IRS might escalate against you. Call 1-800-958-1000, 800-958-1000, or 800-357-1415. Two great numbers for you to make a major difference today. Again, you might have missed that April 15th deadline. It's no worries. tnusa.com/RSBN, your go-to for this big, beautiful, golden era. Secure all of that today. tnusa.com/RSBN. Thank you to Tax Network USA. And now a very, very special sponsor. It really coincides with visiting Alberta, Canada. And I recommend it because I was up there. We'll show you those pictures later in the broadcast. But thank you to Bearskin for sending these hoodies. I'm going to show you this here. A beautiful green, so you have a little bit of camouflage there. We'll open that up. It's water resistant. This is fantastic for you as you go into Canada and enjoy a great trip in the mountains. So nice and thin and will be water resistant. So you will be dry when you're fishing and hunting and exploring those beautiful mountains. Also, this will keep you nice and warm. This beautiful, nice jacket there for you. So you see some great products from Bearskin. Call it the best outdoor gear you've ever used. It really is, because it's the world's only 10-pocket tactical hoodie that I just held up for you. It works for fishing, for golfing, for boating, and flying. It's perfect for vacations. Nice and lightweight. You could have it with you as you're traveling throughout the mountains. Built-in 10-pocket technology, windsolation technology. Bearskin also just launched a new summer version of that hoodie, which I just showed. Lighter, but just as tough. It will take care of you, especially if it starts raining way up there in Alberta, Canada. 60% discount now running today. Text RSBN to 36912. That is 36912, 36912. Text RSBN right there. Easy to remember. Unlock 60% off. Again, RSBN to 36912. Get these Bearskin Tactical Hoodies 4.0. It's the world's only 10-pocket tactical hoodie. And you can actually fit the bear spray in here too with both of them. I was looking in the pockets. They're very deep. And if you've been up there, you know that you need that spray because you might come in contact. Actually, it's most likely you will with wildlife, and you don't want a bad situation there. So unlock that 60% off. Scan the QR code now, and this will protect you from any of those flying bugs as well, those mosquitoes. Very pesky this time of year. My brother and I like to get out there on the lake and the river on occasion and go fishing. This is perfect gear for that. So thank you to Bearskin for sponsoring us on the right side of history. Just after the 10:30 hour on the East Coast, on the West Coast, it is 7:30. It's kind of a gloomy day over our nation's capital. We were fortunate not to get rained on too badly the other day as we enjoyed that big, beautiful military parade on Flag Day. It might have been the most favorite thing I've covered since being with the network, and that's a lot to say because Inauguration Day, amazing. CPAC, nothing like it. Second to none when it comes to bringing you subject matter experts on countless different topics across the country. But this military parade was unlike any parade I have attended. To see friends enjoying themselves on a sticky, humid day in Washington, which is really part of this time of the year in the swamp, because it literally is built on a swamp right off the Potomac River. But just an amazing time to celebrate with President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, Vice President Vance, Second Lady Usha Vance, the Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who was sporting that camouflage tie, if you caught that, with his American flag gear. And I might have to do the lining of the coat. So, Mr. Secretary, if you can do a nice recommendation on where you get that done, we'd love to hear about that, because I think I have to do that for my sport coats and my suits now, because that's pretty cool stuff to celebrate our flag in such a glorious way. And then we actually have video from President Trump's Truth Social account showing that enlistment of new soldiers in the Army. President Trump doing the swearing in right towards the end of the parade for your viewing pleasure in case you missed it this past weekend.
Mr. President, First Sergeant Norton, reporting for duty, sir. Ready to commence the ceremony as directed.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States Army, and have a great life. Thank you very much. Have a great life. Thank you.
And it was quite a sight to see President Trump saluting and reviewing the troops. Also, Vice President Vance, as a Marine veteran, saluting, and Secretary of State Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, a veteran himself, saluting. And they all saluted the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on Memorial Day with great speeches detailing peace through strength and willing to use the meritocracy, the fighting force of America, but as the last resort, to really be there for the warfighter. This was on full display on Saturday. It's been a great couple of weeks celebrating our military. Now kicking off into 250 years of not only the Army, but the United States. Truly a golden year, a jubilee to celebrate all of the success we've had as a constitutional republic, and the best days are yet to come. Thank you to our sponsors on the right side of history. All Family Pharmacy. President Trump signed this beautiful executive order recently, bringing down the cost of prescription medications, but one online pharmacy will not stop in protecting you, the American people, with code RSBN 20, now going on through June 30th. Get 20% off essential medication, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, also emergency medical kits. Yes, 200 essential medications for you. So you can travel this summer with them. You can have them in your medicine cabinet. Regardless, you're prepared. Because if there's a natural disaster, or if you can't get to your pharmacy down the street, or if your pharmacy simply doesn't want you to have it, not because it's out of stock, but because big pharma globalists want to make it expensive and keep it out of your medicine cabinets, that exists. It's happened in America. That's why allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN is there for you. No insurance, no waiting room, just fast service. And the doctors who are working 24/7 round the clock at All Family Pharmacy, there for your prescription medications. All Family Pharmacy works with those licensed doctors to get the job done for you within 24 hours of ordering, right there to your doorstep. Let's make America healthy again. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN20 for 20% off now through June 30th. And when you have your health in line and all in order, you can sleep at peace on the most beautiful, bold, great MyPillows. Yes, mypillow.com/RSBN, the exclusive special, free with any purchase. With God, all things are possible. A great message as you look at that stream next to a tree. It might be your favorite watering hole, your favorite fishing hole over the summer. But the multi-use MyPillow 2.0, a $39.98 value. As Mike Lindell said, I can't believe I'm doing this deal. So call today. Do not delay. After all, we live in the good old US of A. 800-836-7566. MyPillow.com/RSBN. The purveyor of free speech, the defender of election integrity. It's Mike Lindell. Support RSBN and MyPillow by visiting mypillow.com/RSBN with hundreds of options. In addition, I mean, this is the best website to have a good, productive day. It starts with a good night's rest. No one does it better than mypillow.com/RSBN. Thank you to Mike Lindell, a dear friend of the network, for all you do for our freedoms, for our Constitution, and for helping people get a good night's rest. Everything produced out of your big, bold, beautiful manufacturing facilities and warehouses in the wonderful state of Minnesota. And there's a live look there of the White House as we are breaking down what was a great weekend, what has been, some disturbing things in the media. Of course, Israel and Iran at this conflict right now. President Trump optimistic that they can work it out ultimately, but it might be a few rocky weeks. So we pray for the peace, the security of Israel as President Trump celebrated a beautiful weekend, specifically our United States military. Speaking directly to those after that swearing in ceremony about the fighting force of this great nation. We have video playback for you in case you missed that of President Trump's really encouraging words to our United States military, specifically our Army, on their 250th birthday. It's an exciting time to be in America, and something that really stuck out to me when the national anthem was sung. All of the Army and the veterans who went directly to attention, everyone up on the media risers as well stood and put their hand over their heart, unless they were veterans. I was standing next to a veteran, and she began to salute. And that's a special thing. And actually, kudos, someone I criticize on a regular basis if you watch this regularly. Former President George W. Bush, his administration was responsible for allowing veterans to continue the saluting of the flag. So once a soldier, always a soldier. It was against military code in the past, but it's always a special sight to see whether those currently serving or those veterans of the past, to stand at perfect attention and salute that flag, Old Glory. We have President Trump's words of fight, 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 win, 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 the encouragement to the United States Army, in case you missed it.
Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win.
President Trump has been described as the disruptor in chief when it comes to what the neocon and neoliberal agenda wanted for America. And really, it was what they wanted for themselves, because they bankrupted Detroit and they bankrolled Beijing. And it was Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, and the Auto Pen, the living predecessors, who allowed these bureaucrats to run wild with your tax money in Washington, D.C. Those days are over, and this military knows that if they go into conflict, it is truly for the America First agenda, America First principles, and as a last resort, not willy-nilly nation building as some kind of fun cocktail social hour for the so-called elite globalists, because they harmed the middle class. They allowed fentanyl to go through Appalachia. They allowed our border to become wide open, and gang rapes and foreign terrorist organizations to harm the American people. It's disgusting, it's tragic, but now we have a commander-in-chief back in office who is decisive, who uses his constitutional authorities, including securing Los Angeles against radical maniacs who are paid by NGOs, people aligned with George Soros and his son, to create chaos. We've seen it for the last few years now. And this kind of activity from communists and far-left lunatics dates back to the 60s. But at least some of those liberal-leaning people at least were fighting for free speech. They at least were standing up to a very controversial war, a political war. You could argue that. But now you have these people that go out there, I think simply to make a buck or two, who had time on their hands to cause chaos. And then think about this, the Mexican flag flying around Los Angeles as cars were burning, buildings burning. And then some in the legacy media saying, oh, that's mostly peaceful. I mean, are they looking at it with the same eyes as we are? Because that's the thing about journalism. You have to ask the question at the end of the day. Everyone's going to have a bias one way or the other. But when you look outside, is it raining outside? Is it foggy in Washington, D.C.? You can clearly see there's fog over the nation's capital today. But there are some who would say, no, that's sunshine. Just look the other direction. This is our opinion. We'll present it as fact. Sadly, some legacy items continue to do that. We here at the right side of history will bring it right to you as a live desk. Every speech, every press conference, every hearing. So you can make up your mind. We won't cut out of it and say, oh, nothing to see here, nothing to hear. We want you to have your access to the government you put into place on November 5th and to celebrate it. There's nothing wrong with nationalism. There's nothing wrong with patriotism. There's nothing wrong with wearing that beautiful flag pin on your lapel. There's nothing wrong with backing the blue, which we do every day at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And thank you to all the Secret Service, all of the Washington Metro Police, all the departments that came together to celebrate this great nation, and the Army, 250 years young, on Saturday. Something I'll never forget, and really one of the loveliest visits to our nation's capital in recent memory. But always nice to be back in Auburn, Alabama, the loveliest village on the plains, as we're grateful for our sponsors on the right side of history. Colonial Metals Group, this is your go-to because China playing games with Taiwan, war games in fact, And then they're buying up primetime American farmland around our military bases. How about those Confucius Institutes that were confusing Americans? And this is something that I'm very passionate about, stopping the Chinese Communist Party from harming your dollar that you worked hard for. But it's pretty clear here. The Chinese Communist Party wants a financial Pearl Harbor on the United States. There's no doubt about this. It could devastate your IRA, your 401k, but secure that with gold and silver, 100% tax-free from Colonial Metals Group. So scan the QR code now, freegoldguide.com/RSBN, the one inflation-proof asset that has survived the fall of currencies. And when you call the trustworthy experts at Colonial Metals Group, 866-317-2159, 866-317-2159. Call today. Don't delay. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. That's where you can find this no obligation gold guide. Plus, you stand the chance to receive $7,500 in free silver. That's not a bad deal this day. $7,500 is nice in and of itself, but in silver, timeless commodity for you. Now, once you get that $7,500 of free silver from freegoldguide.com/RSBN and Colonial Metals Group, would you mind donating over to us at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live? We are citizen journalists, anchors, hosts, broadcast professionals, and great writers here at the network to dissect what is nearly 250 years of this great nation. So please support us here on the right side of history. Text RSBN to 801-801. That is rsbnetwork.com/donate. RSBN to 801-801. Easy to text, easy to remember. Or visit us at rsbnetwork.com/donate. We are grateful if it's a $2 bill, which is my favorite dollar bill, to $20, $200, $2,000, whatever it might be. We are grateful here at the network so we can continue this mission, now a decade old, coinciding with today's date. This is June 16th, Monday, 2025. There was a Monday 10 years ago, 1 decade ago, where President Trump went down the golden escalator with First Lady Melania Trump and said, let's secure our borders. Let's stop fentanyl. Let's save America. Let's get insane asylums built again. Mr. Director and I going through our nation's capital, it's tragic to see the amount of homeless on the street, either drug addicted or perhaps former veterans that need that mental help and clarity. Even if they did not serve in the military, no one deserves to lay in the streets of our federal city, let alone any of the beautiful, ornate cities in America. Think of the World's Fair in Chicago in 1893, those iconic photos. President Trump wants to make our cities great again, and it has to happen. The Democrat leadership has destroyed these incredible cities from Philadelphia to Orlando, Detroit, all the way out to Los Angeles. So how about the Summer of Love and Governor Walz? We know people are going through a lot right now in Minnesota as we think and pray for the former Speaker of the House, her husband passing away from a maniac who was impersonating as a police officer, also attacking a state senator because they came to the right side of the aisle, although Democrats, to pass a balanced budget for Minnesota. Of course, Governor Walz there, though, he enjoyed the tire burning and the smells of that along with his wife back in 2020. We don't need the BLM activism. We don't need the riots. We need civil discourse. And it goes for both sides, but especially for far left globalists who seek to use communist tactics on a daily basis to destabilize this beautiful nation. We won't tolerate that here, and we'll point that out, and we'll be brave to talk about it each and every day as we celebrate this constitutional republic, nearly 250 years young, and 10 years of not only Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, but also 10 years of the MAGA movement, from the celebrity businessmen who came down that golden escalator, many people scoffing and laughing I remember watching that speech thinking, oh boy, here we go. This is formidable. He has a chance at the White House. And Roger Stone was right about that. Countless others. Pat Nixon, the former First Lady, always said that, that Donald Trump really does have a shot at this if he ever puts his mind and his heart to American politics. She was right, among countless others. And it's great to see a citizen servant like President Trump who takes $1 per quarter. That's all he takes. He gives the rest away because he loves this nation. He's a man on a mission. And as he has said, preserved from a would-be assassin's bullet in order to serve this great nation. Now, the festivities on Saturday culminated in perhaps the greatest fireworks display the nation's capital has ever seen. And you could see it was right over there, just on the south lawn of the White House over our beautiful Washington Monument. It was outstanding. It was right over us where our press box was. So we'll toss that there now for you to view in case you missed it.
Thank you for joining us on this historic occasion.
A hoorah to the Army. Happy birthday. Iconic. There's no words for what was witnessed on Saturday. And the American icon, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, in his own right, a citizen servant who decided to run for office as an outsider, who took over the Republican Party, who really took it out of the hands of the neocons and defeated the Bush dynasty, who then took on the neoliberal, crazy, crooked Hillary Clinton and won the 2016 election. He continued to fight against everything that came his direction, from fake impeachments to assassination attempts to the lawfare. We saw, he was handcuffed and printed in Atlanta, Georgia by Fani Willis, who maybe should be actually doing her job instead of trying to politically prosecute opponents who differ from their political leanings on the far left. Now it's time to investigate the investigators. This man doing the impossible with an incredible family alongside him, sacrificing countless hours, their own personal safety, and their own peace. How many could end up doing it? Because we've had former generals, we've had individual citizens take on this role as President of the United States, but perhaps no one quite like President Trump, who had a vision, who spoke consistently on the manipulation of currencies and those who would seek to defeat our Western way of life. And even dating back to 1987, being consistent in countless interviews, including going on the Oprah Winfrey Show, saying that, it's about time people or someone with the knowledge of money would actually do something and protect the middle class and do what's right by America. And it's all come to being a reality, something that was talked about, something that was a dream, something that was considered, but hey, probably not. You know, it's a mean life to be in politics, as President Trump once put it back when he was my age. And he just kept going on, building a global empire in real estate, golf, hospitality, and what you see is what you get. There is no one really quite like him, and we're excited to cover all of it for you here on the right side of history, as we thank our sponsors here on RSBN, angelpaste.com. Experience the miracle today. The Vitamin B Original. I've tried that here at the network, and it left my skin glowing, especially every once in a while. I get the dry skin, so I don't want to go out there with dry skin and, you know, shaking hands. I don't want to have people see that because it's a little bit gross. So this is a great product to use out of Spring, Texas. They're off of the Gulf of America, and they know a thing or two about mosquitoes, so they have a natural mosquito repellent as well as an immunity option that's an orange color, non-GMO, no chemicals in their product, so it's healthy for you to put on your skin. Experience the miracle today with a facial spray for guys and gals to go paint the town red as you celebrate America during this beautiful summertime season. Angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. They are Christian owned. They hire veterans, and they know a thing or two about being the lone winner in the game because they're from the Lone Star State, and they do it better than the rest. Experience the miracle today at angelpaste.com. And while you're at it, visit kalshi.com/RSBN for all of the big bets on sports, music, the culture, to politics. Scan the QR code right under my chin there, kalshi.com/RSBN. Congratulations to Mr. Spahn, JJ Spahn, winning his first major at Oakmont in Pennsylvania just yesterday, the United States Open for golf. They are the second largest venue for hosting the most majors outside of Augusta, Georgia, of course, where they play the Masters every year. They're at 13 right now, Oakmont in Pennsylvania. I speak on this because not only does President Trump love golf and sports, but you can bet on all of these questions and what's affecting American culture as we view countless different activities and competitions over the course of the summer. So trade now on the most important events. Scan the QR code, kalshi.com/RSBN. Thank you for your sponsorship. As we are anticipating a bilateral meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to be coming up in a couple of minutes from now, awaiting President Trump as he attends the G7 summit in beautiful Alberta, Canada. This is really the western part of Canada, country Canada, if you will, with all of the beautiful mountains. I had the opportunity back in 2019 to visit with family members and do a biking trip from Banff all the way to Jasper and back within a week. And a couple of different highlights, not only the beautiful God's nature that it is, but the Chinese moved into Jasper. Almost everything in that small town was Chinese owned. It was Chinese everything. And really amazing to see the global exporting of their influence over the world over the course of the last few years. So something to keep in mind as President Trump works diligently to fight every single foe and to fight those who would manipulate currencies on a global scale, and it affects you at the end of the day. We actually have a couple of photos from that trip, so I could show you exactly what it looks like just north of Calgary. It's once in a lifetime. I'm telling you, go out there and experience this. This is just north of Banff. I was hiking up in the beautiful Canadian Rockies, and as beautiful as our Rocky Mountains are, the geologists were explaining to me on this trip that the way the Earth came together in this part of the world, these tectonic plates actually smashed against each other. So it's almost if you're rolling two rugs together and they come into contact and they go up, 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 and they really are trying to fight each other up to these very sharp points. So a great photo there. Now, the minerals will recede as well from all of the snow and all of the ice that gets up there. And this is summertime, mind you. So the highs are in the high 60s. Sometimes you're lucky to get low 70s, but nearly 24 hours of sunshine and nice and refreshing, especially if you're in the humid southern United States. But you see that blue crystal water, that's all the mineral runoff that comes down the hill from the summits of the mountains. And that was some of the group there, but just iconic. It almost looks like a lake of Kool-Aid, and that is just off of the beautiful Moraine Lake that is very famous in Banff, Alberta, Canada. So please feel free to explore this beautiful backyard of ours, and maybe one day that land and territory, a province of Canada, might become the 51st state. We'll see what President Trump and Prime Minister Carney continue to discuss in that manner. But President Trump has been talking about it on a regular basis, and I look forward to visiting beautiful Canada again in the future. As it's now 11:01 on the East Coast, it is 9:01 Mountain Time where President Trump is in Alberta. And a good morning, America. It's always a joy to be with you. On the right side of history, I'm Robert McNeely. Thank you for joining the live desk here known as Right Side Broadcasting Network. For a decade now, we've been bringing you rallies and speaking to the people in attendance, the patriots like yourselves, at the Trump rallies. Because today, Monday, June 16th, 2025, marks an exact decade from that Monday when President Trump came down the golden escalator with his beautiful wife, our First Lady Melania Trump, to lay out the Trump doctrine, which ultimately became 20 promises made, promises kept, and Republican National Committee policy from July of last year into today's government. And thank God for you and yours, because you put this president back into office after all of the scandal that took place from the deep state far left, what they attempted to do, the globalists, to take away this MAGA populist movement. They failed, and they'll continue to fail. And the neoliberal and the neocon agenda of the uniparty is really out the window now. Now they're going to attempt to do whatever they can to stop this unbridled optimism. But the more we share this information, the more you subscribe, like, and share on your favorite social media account, the more we can bring this to you, and the more we can bring you exactly what's going on in the United States, here domestically and abroad. So for all of those America First updates and exclusive offers, there's nowhere else to go but rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. We also have great writers here at the network. So it's not just me, it's not just the great Matthew Alvarez right here at the desk or out on a trip to cover what's going on in your neck of the woods. It's also our very talented writers, producers, directors, and people working overtime for you to get that story that you probably won't hear in the legacy media. And lots of great outlets doing amazing things here in 2025's America, the media growing in such an exponential way. Really thank you to this White House as well. With whitehouse.gov/new media, Caroline Leavitt, the GOAT of press secretaries on this trip with President Trump, hitting it out of the park, 28 years young, just crushing it every day of the week and being very clear, very transparent. And as she said from the beginning of the administration, that there will be no better spokesperson for MAGA than the 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief, President Donald Trump. And we're happy to cover all of that for you as a live desk now here on the right side of history. President Trump is attending the G7 summit. We have a live look at what's happening in Canada, and we'll bring that to you right when it all happens, with Prime Minister Mark Carney hosting these great festivities. And President Trump and Mr. Carney having great relations right off the bat. The new Prime Minister of Canada, when he came to meet President Trump in the Oval Office. So much shared between our two peoples, the Canadian people, really wonderful folks, and many of them spending their winters down in Arizona and having that dual citizenship. So they like to enjoy that warm weather when they can, because really year round it can be quite brisk. But this summertime, always nice to visit Canada with 24-hour summertime practically, with all the sunshine you get. And then also those cooler, slightly more brisk temperatures, but perfect for hiking, for fishing, for hunting, some golf, as well as other journeys you can see to our neighbors north of our border. But this is a beautiful day to celebrate America as we break down everything for you on the right side of history. President Trump being very clear via Truth Social that Iran and Israel should make a deal and will make a deal according to his words, just like I got India and Pakistan to make. In that case, by using trade with the United States to bring reason, cohesion, and sanity into the talks with two excellent leaders who are able to quickly make a decision and stop. Full stop, all in exclamation points there on Truth Social. Also, during my first term, Serbia and Kosovo were going at it in a hot and heavy battle, as they have for many decades, and this longtime conflict was ready to break out into war. I stopped it. Biden has hurt the longer-term prospects with some very stupid decisions, but we'll fix it again. Another case, Egypt and Ethiopia, and their fight over a massive dam that is having an effect on the magnificent Nile River. There is peace, at least for now, because of my intervention, and it will stay that way. Likewise, we will have peace soon between Israel and Iran. Many calls and meetings now taking place. I do a lot and never get credit for anything, but that's okay. The people understand. Make the Middle East great again. And I laugh, I chuckle at that because it is true. We had the former Vice President, Mike Pence, a deep state globalist, I'm convinced of it, talking just last month about how, we threatened people with reciprocal tariffs, but we didn't really use them in the first term. First of all, that's not true. Second of all, these tariffs and the renegotiating of the global economy, something that this president has made a cornerstone in his foreign policy to keep America safe, it is effective. It does work. And it worked prior to 1913 with all of the federal income tax that took place. And those presidents don't get credit for that as well. So President Trump righting that ship, as he wrote on Truth Social as well, defending ICE officers, saying our nation's ICE officers have shown incredible strength, determination, and courage as they facilitate a very important mission, the largest mass deportation operation of illegal aliens in American history. Every day, the brave men and women of ICE are subjected to violence, harassment, and even threats from radical Democrat politicians, but nothing will stop us from executing our mission, fulfilling the mandate to the American people. ICE officers are herewith ordered by notice of this truth to do all in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in American history. In order to achieve this, we must expand our efforts to detain, deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. These and other cities are the core areas where Democrat power centers are protecting illegal aliens to expand their voter base, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. These radical left Democrats are sick in the mind, hate our country, and eventually want to destroy our nation. And they are doing a good job of it with destroying the inner cities. There is something wrong with them. That is why they believe in open borders, transgender for everybody, and men and women's sports. And that is why I want ICE, Border Patrol, and our great and patriotic law enforcement officers to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities. These are the places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. You don't hear about sanctuary cities in the heartland. That is very true. Mr. President Donald Trump continuing, I want our brave ICE officers to know that real Americans are cheering you on every single day and that the American people want our cities, schools, and communities to be safe and free from illegal alien crime, conflict, and chaos. That's why I've directed my entire administration to put every resource possible behind this effort and reverse the tide of mass destruction migration that has turned one idyllic town into scenes of third world nations as they continue to be focused on the re-migration of aliens to the places from where they came and preventing the admission of anyone who undermines the domestic tranquility of the United States. The ICE, FBI, DEA, ATF, the Patriots of the Pentagon, and the State Department, you have my unwavering support. Now go, get the job done. Signed, DJT. So we know President Trump is very passionate about this and is on the right side of history on so many of occasions, but this is the biggest one because securing the border has led to the stop of the fentanyl trafficking, has led to the stop of preventable crime, whether it's rape or murder. What happened to Jocelyn Nungary? What happened to Laken Riley? What happened to Kate Steinle going back to 2014 in San Francisco should have never happened. And what's so interesting is when you replay the videos of Barack Hussein Obama talking about deporting 3 million illegals, the left didn't complain then. But then for some reason, his vice president, the Autopen, decided to open the border along with Alejandro Mayorkas, who in my view is guilty of treason, of opening really an invasion in the United States. And we know why they did it. They were trying to create a permanent welfare class and a group of new Democrat voters because American citizens are smarter than they give them credit for. They know that the Republicans have adopted a big tent philosophy under the leadership of President Trump. They abandoned their neocon ways from the Bush legacy and have welcomed in traditional liberals into Republican ranks. And now the Washington demon rat establishment, and that includes rhinos in that, Republicans in name only, they are now trying to get the last few scraps of their amoeba that was this globalist League of Shadows. They have failed and will continue to fail under the bold leadership of this president as he sought to endorse and give praise to Congressman Abe Hamadeh of the beautiful State 48, Arizona, stating on Truth Social that Congressman Abe Hamadeh is an American first patriot who is doing a fantastic job representing Arizona's 8th Congressional District. A brave U.S. Army veteran and former criminal prosecutor, Abe is fighting tirelessly to secure our new, very secure, record-setting southern border, stopping migrant crime, growing the economy, cutting taxes, strengthening our military along with our veterans, safeguarding our elections, and protecting our always under siege Second Amendment. Abe Hamadeh has complete and total endorsement for re-election. He will never let you down. Thank you to President Trump for sharing who he likes in the 2026 elections, which will be right around the corner. And we hope you tune into RSBN for all of that unbridled access and coverage to the rally seasons. And I'm sure President Trump will have lots of fun endorsing America First candidates across the country. And maybe there'll be a Democrat or two. Who knows? We know that our friend up in Pennsylvania in the Commonwealth, the good senator up there, has taken on all of those crazy attacks from the far left. He, in fact, endorsed Flag Day, enjoyed all of those festivities as well. So there are some common sense people out there in the ranks of the Democrat Party. It's just few and far between. And that's why I've adopted the term of demon rat, because that's the truth. But that includes rhinos, that includes uniparty actors and activists, because they don't care about the American Constitution. They don't care about the future of this great nation. But we do here at RSBN, and we're thankful for our sponsors, All Family Pharmacy. We know President Trump signed that EO to bring down the cost of prescription medication. Code RSBN20. Now through June 30th, Get 20% off of your prescription medications, from ivermectin to hydrochloroquine to methylene blue, and all of those 200 essential medications available at this great website, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. A smart go-to now on the right side of history. Scan that QR code there. If you don't have insurance, it's no hassle. If you don't have access to your pharmacy, or they simply don't want you to have these great life-saving medications, then you can go right to this online group, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Now through June 30th, RSBN 20% off of life-saving medications for your trip, or to have in your cabinet, your medicine cabinet, for emergencies. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN is there for you. Let's make America healthy again. Thank you for your sponsorship on the right side of history. As we also thank Mr. Director, that sponsor one more time. Oh, MyPillow.com, of course. Mike Lindell, the great hero of the day when it comes to supporting the First Amendment, defending election integrity, has another exclusive special for you. And he said, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, because it's a nearly $40 value at $39.98, free with any purchase. With God, all things are possible. The multi-use MyPillow 2.0. We know Mike's story. It's inspirational. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Save with code RSBN. Easy to remember. We are grateful for America's favorite Minnesotan, with manufacturing facilities and warehouses in the Great White North. Perhaps he'll run for governor of Minnesota one of these days. Support Mike Lindell and RSBN with code RSBN. Easy to remember at MyPillow.com/RSBN. Thank you, Mike Lindell, for supporting the right side of history with great products that will help you prepare for your next day. A good night's rest, delicious coffee, over 200 items, including the My Slippers, but this exclusive special right now, free with any My purchase. We're excited for it. With God, all things are possible. The multi-use MyPillow 2.0. And that overcast, wow. We didn't really experience that. It was more sunshine with a slight overcast, and then that rain that was supposed to pour on us did not happen. And it was great to celebrate with President Trump and Vice President Vance. Their lovely ladies, our first and second lady, as well as Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, military officials, congressmen, congresswomen, senators, spouses, and family members, the Trump family in attendance as well, at that great, big, bold, beautiful military parade on Saturday, celebrating 250 years of the United States Army, the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen, as well as President Trump celebrating his 79th birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. President. It was a joy to be with you on those stands and catching a glimpse of the presidential box. It's something I'll never forget, as the great equipment and military officials going down Constitution Avenue. Such a sight to see, something that wasn't celebrated really since the end of the Gulf War, dating back to 1991, 1992, when George H.W. Bush was the 41st president of the United States. I will never forget the parade, and it was a joy to be with everyone in attendance, as now President Trump is attending the G7 summit in beautiful Alberta, Canada. We look forward to seeing all of that in moments, as Prime Minister Carney of Canada hosting this very important series of meetings. We should have a bilateral meeting coming to you in the next few moments, but we'll see what happens there, as they are in deep discussions regarding, these are the 7 largest economies in the world. Many friends as well. I believe, hosted it roughly 20 years ago down in beautiful Georgia on St. Simon's Island. They actually have preserved the room where you can view all of that. Back when Russia was a part of this, and it was the G8, and George W. Bush was the head commander-in-chief at the time. So we hosted on occasion, but this goes around the world to have these bilateral, trilateral, up to an entire G7 meeting that takes place. So we look forward to that coverage today, as we're celebrating everything off of a weekend that really begins a Jubilee year for the United States of America. 1775, in April of that year, in Lexington and Concord, in the frontier, which was then the Western frontier, truly west of Boston, were all of those tea parties and the Boston Massacre, so many things taking place over that course of time against an empire that had the most fearful army and powerful army in all of the world, the greatest navy, and a group of farmers, militiamen, minutemen, came together and stopped them in their tracks when they were taxing without representation, when King George III thought it was just going to be his way with his colonies right across the pond. But there were patriots who stood up over years and years and used war as a last resort. But God brought together some of the best minds that this world has ever seen. The likes of General George Washington, John Hancock, to John and Samuel Adams, Thomas Jefferson, the great statesman Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton. Their names will never be forgotten. They are truly national treasures, and we celebrate them to this day as they laid down their lives, their sacred honor, their trust for life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. They were students of history. They knew that they had a chance to bring together the greatest constitutional republic ever known to man, and looked at what had worked in the past. The promise of Magna Carta from the 13th century, that all men are created equal with certain inalienable rights, and it then was born, this constitutional republic, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we celebrate it now, nearly 250 years later, as we await President Trump to attend the G7 summit, the successor of General George Washington, the father of this great nation, the only president to not live in that executive mansion, as it was finished post-construction in 1800 during the presidency of John Adams. So if you have the chance to go visit the White House, please do. We saw some tours while we were in Washington, D.C., outside of Ford's Theater, another iconic place, a sad place, but somewhere that's frozen in time on 10th and 4th in the Federal City, where President Abraham Lincoln was shot and ultimately assassinated, losing his life hours later from the gunshot wound of John Wilkes Booth. And at that time, someone like Booth was like a Denzel Washington, a Robert De Niro, a Dustin Hoffman, really a household name in the acting world, especially doing stage plays at that time. And to change history, put it in his own hands, how sad, as he was a Confederate mercenary. But we remember those willing to put their lives on the line. And truly that name, Donald Trump, is in the same ilk of names like Martin Luther King, like Abraham Lincoln. And I don't care if the legacy media comes after me for making a statement like that, because it's true. This man, this family, willing, ready, and able to put their lives on the line. Think about this now. At 79 years young, he can go off and be retired playing golf every single day, perhaps sipping his favorite mocktail. We know he loves Diet Coke. And as he said, I could have the sun and the sand and the beautiful sea hitting my face. But he said sometimes it gets kind of salty when that water hits you in the face. And he was never one just to sit down on vacation for too long, like we noticed the auto pen. And something President Trump learned from his father, Fred Trump, that he enjoyed a vacation every now and again. But after a week, he said, I got to get back to work. I have to be part of all of this. And there's a close-up of Caroline Leavitt. It just came through the poll cam there in the hall in Alberta, Canada. We are anticipating a G7 summit bilateral meeting, this portion of that between the United States and Canada. So we'll bring that to you as soon as we get any vantage point, any view of the leaders of both great nations, President Trump and Prime Minister Carney, who have a great relationship, who are dear friends and off to a great start together, as Mr. Carney is new to the role, but enjoying that, a member of the Liberal Party of Canada. We'll see how that governance goes, because President Trump has said, I actually think I do better with a Liberal leader in Canada. He didn't really disclose why, the reason that was, but we know President Trump is a great communicator. He is someone who is willing to get on the phone. And one of my favorite moments from the first term, actually prior to the first term, President Trump meeting with President Obama in the Oval Office as the president-elect. And Obama told Trump, you know, you're going to go to war with North Korea. It's inevitable. And then President Trump famously responded, have you ever tried to call him? Did you call the rocket man, Kim Jong-un? Little tiny rocket man? We know what happened. President Trump exchanged a series of letters with him. He got on the phone with him, and ultimately the first president post the Korean conflict, which still is ongoing. There's never been an exact ceasefire or end to that war. So technically it's really a Cold War, but it's never ended. And that demilitarized zone there, the DMZ, you usually see a president or leaders, including recently Governor Kemp of Georgia, when he was considering running for the U.S. Senate, from miles away with the binoculars looking over that DMZ zone. President Trump stood there with our guards on hand, with the North Korean guards on hand, all staring at one another. And Lil Rocket Man came walking up to President Trump and extended that hand in solidarity, shook it, and welcomed him into North Korea. Truly an iconic moment, but this is a president of iconic moments. He got the negotiation going in Singapore, then the invitation by Little Rocket Man to North Korea, and was the first president to cross that threshold since the Korean conflict. Is there anyone better? Not in modern politics. Is there anyone with the brass gold back, the standard you need in today's leadership? Because it's an ugly world out there. And there are those within Republican or Democrat ranks, whether it's neoliberal, neocon, the nasty globalist League of Shadows, the uniparty, as I like to put it, against we the people, the populist positive movement that has really sparked and ignited a flame of liberty. Yes, truly ignited a flame of liberty in this great nation. People who were not interested in politics became interested over the course of the last few years by the leadership of President Trump and those in the America First agenda. I think about people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, to great senators like Ted Cruz, those who may have wanted to run in the past but were then inspired to continue their service or run in the first place because President Trump came down that golden escalator. And they battle it out peacefully and patriotically with words of wisdom in the halls of Congress, on the floor of the House of Representatives, and on the truly ornate floor of the United States Senate, the greatest body for dialogue in human history, inspired by the Roman Republic, with architecture from Greco-Roman times. We are truly the greatest republic to have ever seen the face of the earth. But as the gentleman asked Mr. Franklin when they came out of that Constitutional Convention, Mr. Franklin, what did you give us? The response was, a republic, if you can keep it. And that is what we're tasked with in 2025. And thank God for the superstar from The Apprentice, the man who changed skylines, who just wanted to shake your hand and make sure you're having a great time at some of his great restaurants and golf courses around the world. He wanted to give all that up to run for president of the United States, and his family fully backing him in the efforts and helping in that service with things like the Abraham Accords. And continuing with a big announcement today of Trump Mobile. Might have some interesting coverage of that as well. A great business changing the lives of countless Americans on a daily basis. The Trump Organization. If you're ever having just a bad day or wondering, gosh, I just need some inspiration, just go read what's happening over at the Trump Organization, led by none other than Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., doing extraordinary jobs as the executive vice presidents of this great organization. Yes, Trump Mobile can help with those big, beautiful bills that come across with our cell phones. We all need one of these to survive nowadays. And Trump Mobile can help you out there. So we'll have some more information regarding that breaking news on this beautiful Monday, June 16th, 2025. I'm Robert McNeely. It's 11:30 on the East Coast, 9:30 Mountain Time there in Alberta, Canada. We'd like to thank our sponsors on the right side of history, Tax Network USA, tnusa.com. Your go-to. Settle your back taxes today. Protect yourself from the IRS. Call today. Don't delay. 800-357-1415. Tax Network USA Incorporated. Protect yourself from the IRS in case you missed that intense deadline of April 15th. I know it always makes us sweat. It has passed, and for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. With a deadline or still owed back taxes, the IRS is ramping up its enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse, with over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily, and tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments. The IRS is applying pressure at levels we haven't seen in years. Increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. The good news, though, there's still time for Tax Network USA to help. Self-employed or a business owner, no worries at all. Even if your books are a mess, they've got it covered. Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you right back on track fast. Even after the deadline, it's not too late to regain control. Your consultation is free, and acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies before they escalate. So call 800-357-1415. Settle the back taxes today at tnusa.com/RSBN. That's taxnetworkusa.com. Not to be confused by TN, Tennessee, that new song by Morgan Wallen. A great one here at the network. And whether you're in Tennessee, whether you're in Canada, really year-round, you have a great opportunity with new materials that I have right here from none other than Bearskin. This is the world's only 10-pocket tactical hoodie. Also, their beautiful warm vests here. This tactical issued beautiful coats are just fantastic for fishing, for golfing, for boating. Here is the 10-pocket beautiful jacket here, a nice hoodie. This actually would have worked well too in Washington, D.C. with all of the water that was anticipated just the other day. So come check it out. Bearskin, a nice high quality. I love touching the material because it's nice and light and refreshing when you're out there enjoying the wilderness. So this built-in 10-pocket and windsolation technology is one of a kind. Bearskin also just launched a new summer version of the hoodie. It's lighter, but just as tough. Now unlock 60% off. QR code is right there to scan. Also text RSBN to 36912. 36912. That's 36912 for 60% off and all of this great material. If rain hits, you just clip on the heavy storm jacket or this light 10-pocket tactical hoodie. Good for year-round activity, fishing, golfing, boating, and flying as well. Also fits nicely into your carry-on items. We got a live look now. It looks like President Trump right there with the Prime Minister Mark Carney, a bilateral meeting. We'll send it there live.
We good to go? We good to go?
We good to go?
Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. President, welcome to Canada.
Thank you.
It's a great honor. Happy birthday. A few days short.
A little bit.
A few days short, but didn't have a chance to see you on the day. Happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7. and the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership, leadership of the United States, many issues, geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. Very much looking forward to the meeting. I'm grateful to have you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it, and we've developed a very good relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. And we have a whole group of people, some traders and some other people. I see my top economy people. But we have a very talented group of people, and you do too, and I know they work together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago, but it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table, so it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot, and I expect to. And I think our primary focus will be trade, and trade with Canada, and I'm sure we can work something out.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so much. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, holding up a deal with Canada?
Say it.
What is holding up a deal with Canada from your perspective?
It's not so much holding up. I think we have different concepts. I have a tariff concept. Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to see what we're going to come out with something. Hopefully.
Mr. President, a deal in Iran. Do you think a deal is achievable within days, within weeks? Is there that kind of runway?
Yeah, it's achievable. Both parties have to agree. Yeah, sure.
Mr. President,
Iran. Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about that.
As you mentioned Putin, do you think that he should have a seat at the G7 today, that it should be the G8?
I'm not saying he should at this point, because too much water's gone over the dam, maybe. But it was a big mistake. Obama didn't want him, and the head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake. You wouldn't have that war. You know, you have your enemy at the table. Even I don't even consider him. He wasn't really an enemy at that time. There was no concept. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But likewise, if he were a member of what was called the G8 at that time, it was always the G8, you wouldn't have a war right now.
What material support and what intelligence support are you providing Israel?
We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly. And Israel's doing very well right now.
Why not have China as the
make of
G8?
Canada's
Why not have
defense
China here, the
spending?
biggest economy in the world after the United States?
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that. If somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest. But you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk. Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8. As I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted. And, I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out. And He's not a happy person about it, I can tell you that. He basically doesn't even speak to the people that throw him out, and I agree with him. Go ahead.
On immigration, why are you ordering ICE to target Democratic inner cities? What's behind that?
I don't know what you're saying.
You did a post last night where you said you want ICE to really target Democratic.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities, because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor, but the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. But I look at how that city has been overrun by criminals, and New York and L.A. Look at L.A. L.A. Those people weren't from L.A. They weren't from California. Most of those people, many of those people, and that's a focus. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, media. Let's go.
Thank you. That's it. That's it. Thank you very much. Out. Go, guys. Out.
Gotta go.
Thank you. Katie, let's go.
I don't want to do it.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. President, are you seriously considering guys trying it out?
Let's go. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go.
Here we go.
President Trump with Prime Minister Mark Carney there, and a nice little flag pin that President Trump added right under his American flag pin, that of the bilateral American flag and Canadian flags. So this should be a great meeting. I'll talk about who's in attendance. Thank you, Mr. Director. Of course, you saw the president and the Honorable Pete Hoekstra. He's the ambassador to the United States, the Canada from the United States. So wonderful Michigander and knows a thing or two about foreign policy, doing a wonderful job there as ambassador. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, Stephen Miller, assistant to the president. Also Susie Wiles, the assistant and chief of staff to President Trump. Also Jamieson Greer, the United States Trade Representative. Kevin Hassett, assistant to the president and director of the National Economic Council. And Nate Norquist, deputy assistant to the president for international economic affairs. Also their counterparts, the Honorable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, Dominic LeBlanc, the President of the King's Privy Council for Canada, Honorable Marco Medicino, the Chief of Staff, Kirsten Hillman, Ambassador of Canada to the United States, Thomas Pitfield, Principal Secretary for Brendan Cayley, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Tim Kruppa, Director of Policy, Lisa Jorgensen, also Senior Advisor on Canada-U.S. Relations, and Scott Gilmore, Senior Advisor on Foreign Defense and Security Policy, all meeting together between the United States and Canada as President Trump attends this G7 meeting now underway. And a quick press gaggle there for you to get some questions about what's taking place in the world. Really on the forefront of most minds, the conflict between Israel and Iran, which had begun days ago. And we pray for the peace of Israel. And as President Trump said, that he believes there can be a conclusion to this with a great economic deal. And it does seem as if the days are numbered for the Iranian regime. It's something that has lost power and influence over the region for now a period of years as Syria collapsed under the leadership of Bashar al-Assad. President Trump announcing while he was in the Gulf states, specifically Saudi Arabia, that he would take sanctions off of Syria so they could come into the Western world, that mold of trading and wealth and also peace through strength, that they can have a chance at being a civilized nation. And perhaps Iran will get there as well as the theocratic monsters of the mullahs and the ayatollahs are now up against the ropes and against the Western world and against decent civilization and people who want peace and harmony and for their populations to succeed and prosper. And what a change it is from the Otto Penn administration. What a change it is from Barack Hussein Obama, who gave millions of dollars to Iran in appeasement. We'll never see that again because we have specific standards of an America first foreign policy, peace through strength, that's been clearly defended, articulated, and showcased on the world stage, not only by President Trump, but by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of the Treasury from the financial side of things, Mr. Bessent, and also Howard Lutnick at Commerce doing an amazing job. And you cannot forget Steve Witkoff, special assistant, dear friend of President Trump's over the years, who has negotiated countless deals, including bringing back hostages from around the world who are in captivity, whether it be Russia to Venezuela and really all over the world, including those who were taken October 7th, 2023 in the terrorist attack on the state of Israel. So good to have people that are putting our citizens first, the middle class first, and discussing what will work well in the very future for this great nation. So we are looking forward to the rest of this week, bringing you all of this unbridled access and coverage to the G7 summit as President Trump attends that in beautiful Alberta, Canada, and meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney as that's continuing to take place right now as we speak. And we hope you had the opportunity to see this weekend, this past Saturday, as Mr. Carney giving his happy birthday wishes and congratulations not only to the military and the Army specifically, but also President Trump on his birthday, coinciding with Flag Day. It was a star-studded event. It was a beautiful ceremony, and we enjoyed it immensely being there right on Constitution Avenue. We have videos from Truth Social showcasing, just say that 10 times fast, Truth Social showcasing. It was amazing to see all of the Abrams tanks going by, the Tomahawks flying through the air, and seeing generations of American Army might, Army strong, 250 years young. And the biggest question I've been asked by friends, family, and supporters across the country, did the tanks actually dig up Constitution Avenue? No, they left it even more beautiful and pristine as ever before. So not to fear, the streets of Washington look beautiful as ever. Now, with the exception of, sadly, lots of homeless there, and God willing, these policies will continue to fight for the American people to get people the mental health they need and the drug addiction focus to get people off of the slavery that is fentanyl. All thanks to an open border by Otto Penn, but we are making America great again day by day. In case you missed it, President Trump swore in numerous troops at the conclusion of the ceremony, and we have that video ready for you now.
Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win.
Mr. President, First Sergeant Norton, reporting for duty, sir. Ready to commence the ceremony as directed.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States Army, and have a great life. Thank you very much. Have a great life. Thank you.
And if that's not exciting, which was just remarkable to witness, all the cheers and the celebrations, the saluting from current military officials all the way to those veterans, all at attention celebrating Old Glory, there was the fireworks display, which we have a video of as President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump watching on from the presidential podium. And what a sight it is over that beautiful Washington Monument that you could see right there at the south lawn of the White House, facing one another. We were right there for all of the action. Check out this fireworks display. I don't know if you're going to find a better one. 4th of July is right around the corner, but you're going to love these fireworks.
Thank you for joining us on this historic occasion.
I had so much energy coursing through my veins. I felt like running through a brick wall in a good way, if that's even possible. It was so exciting to be right under the Washington Monument in that moment with media colleagues. You couldn't help but stand up and just be in awe of it right under that beautiful Washington Monument. Goosebumps, iconic. Really no words to magnify the glory that is. And one of my dear colleagues in the media, he's a former Navy SEAL, and he was standing right near me, and just the pride I could see in his eyes as this is the Pride Month. I think it's pride in the military. It's pride in Old Glory. It's the pride in this great nation where you have life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. This is also the month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and we see a revival happening in this great nation, not only in our government, but in our churches, in our spaces of worship, in our everyday lives, with our family members, with our friends. There seems to be this revival happening all around us. You go outside, just be silent, take it all in, and you see it every day. I get to see it on the campaign trail of sorts, meeting with all of you wonderful people as we want to not only celebrate this with you, but share with you what's actually happening on the ground in real time, whether it's inside of the Beltway or outside of the Beltway. And if you're just tuning in or catching on to Right Side Broadcasting Network's new live desk, something that's been going on since early January now, post-campaign, we want that for you so you can catch all of the action, all of the speeches, all of the questions, all of the press conferences, everything that's going inside and outside of your government in the federal city or in your neck of the woods. That's why if there's a great story you have or something you'd like us to know about, feedback at rsbn.tv, an awesome way to communicate with this great organization. We read everything that comes in, the good, the bad, the ugly, and feedback again at rsbn.tv. Thank you. If you wish to opine, and it's about noon o'clock on the East Coast, that means 10 o'clock in the morning Mountain Time in beautiful Alberta, Canada, where President Trump is meeting with Prime Minister Carney and both of the delegations of the United States and Canada at this G7 summit, taking the course over the next few days. Thank you to All Family Pharmacy. President Trump recently signed a new executive order to lower prescription drug prices. This is a major step in the right direction, but All Family Pharmacy is not waiting around. Right now, they're giving you 20% off through June 30th with code RSBN20. So Americans can start saving right away with this great online pharmacy. It's ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, methylene blue, 200 essential medications, including antibiotics, emergency medical kits, among many others. No insurance, no waiting room, no problem. Just fast, easy service. Reliable access to medications that could save your life, especially if there's a storm, whether it's a health reason or a natural disaster. Always good to be prepared in the medicine cabinet. And if you're traveling this summer, always good to have these on hand, easy to travel with as well. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors and ships directly to your door. If drug prices are finally coming down, this pharmacy is already leaving the lasting legacy and leading the charge in helping you do just that. So let's make America healthy again. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN20. Save 20% off now through June 30th. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. As you take care of your health, take care of your retirement. And gold and silver, Colonial Metals Group. It's really not a luxury anymore. It's a must with this day and age. Look at the Chinese Communist Party, the way they manipulate currency, the way they buy up America. It's primetime farmland around our military bases. Thank God President Trump and Republican governors, especially in the Southeast, responding to this after the auto pen allowed that balloon, that spy balloon, to come across the country. Remember when that happened? That was shameful. But regardless, the Chinese Communist Party manipulating their currency, trying to invoke a financial Pearl Harbor against the United States and their war games against our good friends, the Taiwanese people, who we export and import, trade with regularly, especially with the designed chips for our cell phones. They are such important friends, and we hope and pray for their continued freedom. Regardless, this could devastate your 401k, your IRA in real time. So get your retirement protected with life savings, gold, 100% tax free. The one inflation-proof asset that has survived the fall of currencies worldwide. And when you call the trustworthy experts right there at Colonial Metals Group at 866-317-2159 or visit freegoldguide.com/RSBN, you'll receive your free 2025 no obligation gold guide on how to bulletproof your finances. And you stand the chance to receive $7,500 in free silver. That's freegoldguide.com/RSBN or call 866-317-2159 now. Call today. Don't delay. Judge Jeanine Pirro, a great patriot, a great federal prosecutor, thanks to President Trump's appointment in the District of Columbia. She loves this group. We love this group. And I can tell you, there's no one else better in the business. Colonial Metals Group. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history as we continue our live coverage of the G7 summit. President Trump and United States diplomats and counterparts from the Canadian government meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney as well in beautiful Alberta, Canada. It's high noon on the East Coast. It is 10 in the morning, Mountain Time in beautiful Alberta, Canada. I'm Robert McNeely. If you're just tuning in, welcome to RSBN Live Desk. We are live, bringing all of the unbridled access and coverage to you. And President Trump has a nice new flag pin lapel right under his American flag lapel, and it's the American flag and Canadian flag together. Maybe they will talk more about Canada becoming the 51st state. It sure would make that fishing and hunting access a little bit easier without the passport and without specific regulations. But regardless, a great place to visit, especially in the summertime. They have nearly 24 hours of sunshine during this time of year. And within the last couple of hours, I showcased some of my photos from my visit back in June of 2019 when I took a biking trip from Banff, Calgary, Alberta, Canada, all the way up to Jasper, back to Banff, and then out of that beautiful Calgary airport. That's me on the mountainside. Yes, I climb mountains. I am a mountaineer of sorts. But look at all that snow cap. That's June of 2019. So you still get plenty of snow, still very cold up there in the Canadian Rockies. And geologists saying, the experts that were there, because I am not a geologist by any means, but I enjoy God's glory in his creation. It's almost as if big rugs come at each other, and over hundreds of millions of years, these rugs folding over one another, creating these dramatic peaks to look at. And you can't help but to think about biblical times and invoking the Old Testament and Moses and traveling up the mountainside, and really New Testament times, as well as St. Francis, who in Assisi would go up to the mountaintops in that beautiful part of Italy and go to pray to the Lord and to have a conversation up to the heavens. So something very biblical to reflect on this beautiful Monday. Now, the ice and snow recedes into that beautiful lake. That lake specifically just north of the very famous Moraine Lake in Banff, Alberta, Canada. And so all that blue crystal water there, it's all those minerals that come through that very tight slope that you have off of the mountains there. So hope you enjoy that today. We also got to see on this trip with that group how nature protects and winterizes itself, to also forest manages itself. And actually we have a gentleman here on staff who knows a thing or two about forest management. We actually saw the aftermath 2 weeks prior of lightning strikes that wiped out an entire forest. And then the guide's telling us that it actually is nature's way of regrowing itself. So really an interesting thing to watch, all of God's glory in Canada. Alberta specifically, a beautiful province where the cowboy culture exists, where you can see the Canadian Rockies that go into our Colorado mountain Rocky range as well. But maybe the 51st state in the future. We'll see what happens there as President Trump attends G7 and meets with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney in what's sure to be an exchange that's, very civil, but very much to the point. They have become dear friends in this process. Mr. Carney wishing Mr. Trump a happy birthday that coincided with Flag Day and the 250th birthday of the United States Army. And you can see the Prime Minister clearly very impressed with all of the footage that he saw over the course of the last few days. Now, President Trump writing on Truth Social earlier today, many statements of sorts in regards to Iran and Israel, that conflict that is sadly underway. And although we don't want nation building, we don't want preemptive strikes, actually, not to speak for the network, but most of us here, we want that peace through strength. We want that dialogue. We want a tough military, something so powerful that, as Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth says, we don't want to use it. But in this situation, good on the state of Israel, my own personal opinion, that they were able to knock out some of these centrifuges, stop this nuclear building of these missiles from the Iranian theocratic monsters, the Ayatollahs, the mullahs, who want death to Israel, death to America. They see us, to quote them, as the great Satan. Even one of their bad hombres we took out during the first Trump administration actually has on his headstone, on his grave, that he wanted to be remembered for attacking the Zionist Israeli powers that be. Who wants to be remembered for trying to execute and bring genocide to the Jewish people? I mean, it's sick, it's perverted, it doesn't make any sense, but that's how the leadership thinks. And God willing, as President Trump said over Truth Social, maybe now it's the time, through deal making and economic prowess and the younger generation, maybe they can actually make a massive difference here. As he wrote, Iran and Israel should make a deal, and we'll make that deal. Just like I got India and Pakistan to make, in that case, by using trade with the United States to bring reason, cohesion, and sanity into the talks, with two excellent leaders who were able to quickly make a decision and stop. Also during my first term, Serbia and Kosovo were going in at it hot and heavy, as they have for many decades after this long-time conflict was ready to break into war. I stopped it. Biden has hurt the longer-term prospects with some very stupid decisions, but I will fix it again. Another case is Egypt. It's Ethiopia, and their fight over a massive dam that is having an effect on the magnificent Nile River. There is peace, at least for now, because of my intervention, and it will stay that way. Likewise, we will have peace, and soon, between Israel and Iran. Many calls and many meetings now taking place. I do a lot, never get credit for anything, but that's okay. The people understand. Make the Middle East great again. Maybe we can make some hats that say that. Make the Middle East great again. But a great truth this morning from President Trump, actually yesterday morning, as he posted that on Sunday before leaving for the Alberta trip, and a welcome message to really kind of calm some fears, because anything like this can be scary. And I reflect back on AutoPen. The fact that a nuke did not go off, you had people like Vladimir Putin talking openly about using these weapons of mass destruction, actual weapons of mass destruction, mind you, not the so-called weapons of mass destruction that the Bush administration talked about during the invasion of Iraq, which was really a blunder of foreign policy. But the neoliberal and neocon foreign policy got us here in the first place, of nation building, of going to war and putting our greatest asset, our United States military, the lives of men and women on the line for next to nothing, ultimately. This president has a different philosophy, a philosophy similar to the late, great Ronald Reagan, also the late, great Dwight D. Eisenhower, have something so intimidating, so powerful that God forbid it was ever used. But if we do use it swiftly in the defense of our constitutional republic, of our America First interests, and not using it in globalist terms. I mean, it's just common sense at the end of the day, as President Trump meets with Prime Minister Mark Carney of the G7 of Canada. This great meeting that takes place between amazing leaders that are looking to secure the financial futures of their countries. These are the 7 largest economies in the world, all dialoguing on very hot topics affecting the Middle East and affecting the world, as we are coming off of a great celebration this weekend, which really culminates into an American year of jubilee, leading into our 250th birthday come the 4th of July, 2026. The Second Continental Congress had an army before they even had a nation, in order to stop the most powerful army and navy at the time, the Royal Kingdom of the United Kingdom, that we had to separate from, because promises were made, but goodness, they were not kept, and people did not have due process rights. They were murdered because they took a stand against the crown. And if we had not been successful in that revolution, if God had not been on our side, Those great names like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, the Adams cousins of John and Samuel, to Alexander Hamilton and James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, John Hancock, and also John Rutledge Jr., among many other patriots coming together from across 13 colonies that became the first 13 states. And many of them differing on opinions, whether it was from Boston, Massachusetts, all the way down to Savannah, Georgia, everywhere in between. It wasn't easy to bring together the colonies on one page, and they did just that and pledged their lives, their liberty, their fortunes, their sacred honor to one another. And had they not been successful, they would have been put on display and hanged in the streets. There's no question about that. So our legacy, we stand on the shoulders of patriots that in their time knew what was best for a new world, a new civilization, a constitutional republic based on law and order and inalienable rights, that all men are created equal under God, a liberal idea at the time, but one from centuries was beginning to unfold, including from the mother nation of the United Kingdom, the Magna Carta. It was argued, natural law and order. And if you have the moment to go through those founding documents, we have a lovely book right here, We the People, Documents and Writings of the Founding Fathers. You can still find these things, whether it be online, whether it be our Declaration, our Constitution, the oath that's sweared upon that you saw by our military and by our president, that same oath, along with members of Congress, judges, and those who serve even at the precinct committee level, swear upon these founding documents. There's also the Federalist Papers in here. Great to reflect upon, great to read through, great to have a cup of coffee or tea over as you look at where we came from and where we're at now, 250 years young. It's the birthday party unlike any other, and I'm here for it. And so is Right Side Broadcasting Network to bring you all of this live desk coverage of your government that you put into place on November 5th of last year, whether it's inside or outside of the Beltway. Be sure to write at feedback@rsbn.tv. Tell us what you'd like to hear, what you'd like to see, and all of the good, bad, the ugly, and all of the things that make Western civilization what it is today. You stand in the threshold, and we stand there right with you. It's 12:12 on the East Coast. It is 10:12 in the Mountain Time Zone in Alberta, Canada, as we cover President Trump attending the G7 summit with host Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Stick with us. We'll be back with you in a couple minutes.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. I'm Robert McNeely at 12:15 Eastern, here live in Auburn, Alabama, the loveliest village on the plains. There's a live shot there of your house, the People's House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House. We caught a glimpse of it just the other day as the event was just south of there, off the South Lawn on Constitution Avenue, right before you get to Washington Monument. And you can still see, I think, the gallery where President Trump, his viewing box was for that big, beautiful parade. Had the time of our lives there. Thank you to the great people who attended and the hospitality of the United States Secret Service, the Washington Metropolitan Police, among many other law enforcement agencies who secured the area. They always have long hours. They put a lot into it to make sure we can get the best views for you. Really a wonderful Saturday celebrating Army's 250th year of existence. This is such an exciting time to be an American. It's really always exciting. Our birthright is something I thank God for every day. The title of American is really a special thing. And what's cool about it is you can be born anywhere in the world and come here legally and share in that. And countless immigrants who we support, we love immigration, especially here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We ask that it's done legally. We ask that it's done to assimilate in order to become an American fully. And truly, unlike anywhere else in the world, you can have that initial birthright somewhere else and still come here and pledge allegiance to Old Glory. As we started on Flag Day, Flag Week, now going into the 4th of July, 2026, when our country will turn 250, America 250. This is a year of splendor, all while the 20 promises made, promises kept by President Trump are in full swing as he attends a G7 summit meeting in Alberta, Canada, with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney hosting these great world leaders, the 7 largest economies in the entire world. President Trump mentioning on Truth Social as well that our nation's ICE officers have shown incredible strength through all of this, determination and courage as they facilitate a very important mission, the largest mass deportation operation of illegal aliens in history. Every day, the brave men and women of ICE are subjected to violence, harassment, and even threats from radical Democrat politicians. But nothing will stop us from executing our mission and fulfilling our mandate to the American people. ICE officers are herewith ordered by notice of this truth to do all in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in history. In order to achieve this, we must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens and America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. These and other such cities are the core of the Democrat power center, where they use illegal aliens to expand their voter base, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. These radical left Democrats are sick of mind, hate our country, and actually want to destroy our inner cities. And they are doing a good job of it. There is something wrong with them, and we could not agree more. That it is why we believe that these open borders, transgender for everybody, and men playing in women's sports, it's nuts. And that it is why ICE, Border Patrol, and our great and patriotic law enforcement officers focus on crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. You don't hear about sanctuary cities in the heartland. So President Trump goes on to say, I want our brave ICE officers to know that real Americans are cheering you on every day. The American people want our cities, schools, and communities to be safe and free from illegal alien crime, conflict, and chaos. That's why I've directed my entire administration to put every resource possible behind this effort and reverse the tide of mass destruction and migration that has turned one idyllic town into scenes of third world dystopia. Our federal government will continue to be refocused on the remigration of aliens to the places from where they came, preventing the admission of anyone who undermines the domestic tranquility of the United States. To ICE, FBI, DEA, ATF, the Patriots of the Pentagon, and the State Department, you have my unwavering support. Now go get the job done. Signed, DJT. President Trump is not mincing words. This is one of his strongest truth posts in the course of the last several days in order to lay it all out there. And this is something he does on an international scale as he now attends G7, meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. I'll run through the list as well of their counterparts who are in the meeting as we speak at this very moment. President Trump there, of course, his counterpart, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Mark Carney of Canada. Pete Hoekstra, the ambassador of the United States to Canada, the Michigander, is in attendance. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, Susie Wiles, the Chief of Staff to President Trump, also Stephen Miller, Special Assistant, Jamieson Greer, the United States Trade Representative, Kevin Hassett, Assistant to the President, also Nels Nordquist, Deputy Assistant to the President on International Economic Affairs, the National Economic Council being there present with their two voices. Also, Canada's counterparts, Dominic LeBlanc, he is the President of the King's Privy Council for Canada, Honorable Marco Medicino, the Chief of Staff to Mark Carney, Kristen Hillman, Ambassador of Canada to the United States, Thomas Pitfield, Principal Secretary Braden Cayley, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Tim Krupa, Director of Policy Lisa Jorgensen, Senior Advisor on Canada-United States Relations, and Scott Gilmore, the Senior Advisor on Foreign, Defense, and Security Policy, all speaking together in the room right now. So when everything breaks and there is a view, a sight of these gentlemen and ladies, we will bring that right to you as soon as humanly possible. President Trump also mentioned on True Social his endorsement of Abe Amade from Arizona, State 48, doing an amazing job there. So you really will know who the America First candidates are. And it might just include a Democrat or two. We'll see what happens come 2026. But we know that Senator Fetterman of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, working very closely with Senator McCormick. They have a great working relationship. And President Trump, iconically, before taking the oath of office, invited Mr. Fetterman down to Mar-a-Lago. They had a great discussion on populist policies, and they were surprised that they actually work really well together. And they're not agreeing on every single thing, but even Senator Fetterman said, this is a great celebration on Flag Day. Our Army, our military, these are things that should be loved and adored. And I can tell you on the ground right now, Mr. Director and I did not see many protesters. It was maybe a handful of people with signs. They have the right to do that, but they were far away from the location. Maybe it was because of the impending weather and potential rain that really did not happen as it was supposed to be a downpour. But we got a couple of drizzles here and there. It's actually quite refreshing as it was a very humid day in the federal city. But we didn't see any mass protests like you saw in other areas that are all funded, we know, by NGOs and things like BLM, the Soros Foundation, and this cobweb of evil spider webs you see across the world, a network that seeks to bring communism and fascism and totalitarianism to the Constitutional Republic of the United States. We will not let socialism stand. We will stand against it peacefully and patriotically. And what a beautiful sign there for the G7 in Alberta, Canada. Looks like a lovely day in the Western Rockies, the Canadian Rockies that are just spectacular and glorious. And I'm sure President Trump enjoying this trip to maybe the 51st state. We'll see what happens in the near future with all of this, but I'm sure that dialogue will be taking place as we speak with President Trump meeting with Prime Minister Carney. Now, if you did not catch any of our coverage from the other day, just an amazing parade that took place to celebrate 250 years of the United States Army. A beautiful celebration right here in the nation's capital. And you can see that there, the White House and the split screen. An amazing time for that. And we have some video playback from earlier showcasing the excitement that was this Saturday. We had people being sworn into the United States Army, a fireworks display, the Golden Knights traveling from plane down to the ground to celebrate everything that took place over the course of 250 years of this great Army, as well as President Trump speaking word and truth to our Army. Fight, fight, fight. Win, win, win. A wonderful video of that taking place as well. I can't believe that we're almost 250 years young now, and we stand on the shoulders of great patriots who had that vision of putting this nation together. God did bring them all together, whether it was General George Washington, the great president of the Continental Congress, John Hancock, the Adams brothers, Samuel and John, who at times actually were debating revolution. And John having more of a steady hand than Samuel, but it's an interesting fact that the second president of the United States and representative of Massachusetts, the first ambassador to the Court of St. James following the conflict with the United Kingdom in the Revolutionary War, John Adams actually represented those soldiers in the Boston Massacre because it was an argue point at the time, but those rocks were once thrown at them, and those were the first people that started that kickoff of the Tea Party and the Boston Massacre. It was arguably the colonists that did that. But then you look at history and what happened in April west of Boston, Massachusetts, in Lexington and Concord, the shot heard around the world. A group of militiamen, Minutemen, farmers who knew a thing or two about hunting, but very few of them were veterans of the French and Indian War, and they were able to take on the greatest military at the time from the United Kingdom under King George III to stand up and say, we will have a constitutional republic. We can self-govern by the grace of God. And we've seen this experiment taking place now 250 years young. And as that gentleman was told by Mr. Franklin, we gave you a republic if you could keep it. We are bestowed with that great challenge now as President Trump enjoying Alberta, Canada, a beautiful sight with the famous Canadian maple leaf. They're on a sunshiny morning, and this is the place to visit. As I showed those photos earlier, go to Alberta, go to British Columbia in the summertime. It's extraordinary to look at all these Canadian Rockies and these mountains that are in the same mountain range as our Colorado Rockies. They are absolutely extraordinary to take on in and enjoy God's glory in what is nearly 24 hours of sunshine in the summer solstice coming up on June 21st. It's just remarkable to watch, and that's where you can see the northern lights as well. Somewhat familiar with all of it because I did the local news all the way up in Anchorage, Alaska, and similar temperate climate to the 24 hours of sunshine in the summer. A little bit dark in the winter, but I was used to that growing up in the Chicago area where sometimes you beg for the sun in January through April. Now it's about 12:30 on the East Coast, 10:30 in the morning Mountain Time. So good afternoon on the East Coast, good morning in the other time zones of this great country and Canada and throughout the world where you might be watching. It's really humbling to think that people throughout the world watch RSBN live, not just domestically, but abroad. So we say hello to all of our friends abroad. And if you are watching abroad or wherever you're watching from in this great nation of the United States of America, feel free to type in from where you're at. And if you have anything to opine, feel free to write at feedback@rsbn.tv. We like to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. We read every email. We read everything that comes into this great network, and you can read all of what our writers are talking about on a daily basis, including Sunday devotionals as well as religion, Christianity, the cornerstone of this great experiment known as the United States of America. You can find all of those things at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. All America First updates, exclusive offers, all of the groundbreaking, hard-hitting coverage of what's happening in your neck of the woods and your government, whether it's within or without of the Beltway. So a great way to look there. Also, if you're moved to donate because you like the coverage that you see, unbridled access to your government, text RSBN to 801-801 or visit rsbnetwork.com/donate. Support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're honored by those dollars to help you continue being all you can be, just as our military has paved that path, our Army, 250 years young. And I love the images of this specifically because that was the campaign trail right there last year with the Front Row Joes, some live shots from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. President Trump there in Michigan, North Carolina, and Vice President Vance joining him as well. As I had the opportunity, that shot right there, that was the first outdoor rally where I did that first rally with co-host Megan Kohler. She was there for that. And that was the flyover by Trump Force One as well. So that was a day to remember. That was a scorcher. That was a hot day as well. And if you remember, President Trump actually went off the risers because an elderly retired lady actually did pass out in the moment. That's why we reminded everyone, especially as we go into 2026, when it gets hot, cold, make sure you're fueled up for the day. A lot of H2O, even Gatorade, whatever you can use for electrolytes, actually lemon and water, that's a great way to remain hydrated, but also get your food and nutrients in before you attend these great rallies. But we're also your go-to live desk for everything that's America First, and that's everything President Trump, Vice President Vance, the 119th Congress, what's going on inside and outside of the Beltway. It's an exciting time as we have video from all of the stuff on Saturday, in case you missed it, that big birthday celebration of the Army, 250 years young, and President Trump talking about fighting and winning, not backing down, and also swearing in the troops. What an honor, what a memory it was already for those now brought into the United States Army by none other than their commander-in-chief. An extraordinary kickoff to a Jubilee year that will lead to the 4th of July, 2026, where America itself will be 250 years young. Nothing short of extraordinary. The journeys we've been on together, whether it's in our own lifetime to those generations who fought so valiantly before us. And that's what will stick with me. Singing God Bless America, the national anthem, the beautiful United States Army Band and Choir performing with such precision in front of their commander-in-chief and their civilian authorities. It was nothing short of extraordinary, a day to celebrate America on Flag Day and run through all of that history with you there in real time. And I'm always struck by those veterans who right there for that beautiful American flag stand at attention and salute it as the national anthem plays. And this is some previously aired footage of roughly 200,000 people that were in attendance for America 250 who braved the weather. It was supposed to rain cats and dogs. It did not do that, fortunately, because sometimes you get a little bit uncomfortable with all that rain. But the couple of times it did pour a few of those rain droplets, it actually brought some cool wind into the area, and that was always refreshing, as it was quite a humid day in the nation's capital, something that is expected for this time of year because it's built right on a swamp. And it's not just a swamp because of its politics, but the actual land stake that it is built on, a former swamp in and of itself. So always good to say hello to great American patriots and to friends and family members who were in attendance as well. Great to wave to them, as it was an endless parade for roughly 3 or so hours. It was a beautiful celebration, and you saw the uniform, the period pieces of the conflict from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War, the Mexican-American War, Vietnam, the Korean conflict, leading up to the Great War, also World War II, all in attendance there in order to celebrate the generations of many people, family member after family member. And I think of that great movie, Forrest Gump, that really honors the service of countless American veterans and those who paid with the last full measure of devotion, giving their lives. Remember Lieutenant Dan's character, his family had generations who passed in every single American war. And he thought it was his manifest destiny to do the same. And Corporal Gump saves his life from an air raid, and he finally makes that peace with God and says, thank you for saving my life. An important American moment to reflect upon, not only in cinema, but for all who wear that uniform. Because divine providence is truly what got us into 13 colonies to 13 states, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, and now 50 states. That spans from sea to shining sea. Some of those founders did not see it all happening. But President Thomas Jefferson, with the Louisiana Purchase, began to see what the Western wilderness, how far that could be pushed. And we now know that we stand on those shoulders of great patriots who sacrificed the ultimate in most cases in order to bring freedom around the world and to save the globe from perverted tyranny, fascism, communism, the evils, and the siren songs of socialism. That's what we celebrated this Saturday as President Trump attends G7 and meets with the Canadian Prime Minister. Now, if we have that video, Mr. Director, of that swearing-in ceremony, would be great to show again to the wonderful viewers of this great network how the privilege it was to have President Trump there swearing in that oath, speaking that oath to the United States military. Such an exciting time to be there on hand for that, as well as the fight, 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 win, 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 that encouraging speech he gave in front of the military folks, as well as a fireworks recap video. This was the best fireworks display I think I've seen. And I've seen some great ones, especially over the 4th of July. But this one was one for the ages, as President Trump has been very active on Truth Social over the course of the last day, talking about the Iran-Israeli conflict, a preemptive strike that had to happen to save the state of Israel. Also, nation's ICE officers and all of the great work they're doing. Thank you to the uniformed military officers, as President Trump put it, ICE, to Border Patrol, ATF, DEA, everyone that protects us on a daily basis, including the Secret Service, the Metropolitan Police, who were so terrific on TSA as well on Saturday. And those videos are now ready. We'll toss that there live now as we see that sunshiny Alberta, Canada. We'll keep the camera on there to make sure if anyone comes out to get that access to you so you could see what's being discussed in Canada. But in the meantime, we'll celebrate what took place on Saturday.
Mr. President, First Sergeant Norton reporting for duty, sir. Ready to commence the ceremony as directed.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States Army, and have a great life. Thank you very much. Have a great life. Thank you. Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win.
Thank you for joining us on this historic occasion.
Simply iconic. What a day that was. President Trump celebrating our great American Army, the Grand Army of the Republic, who has been there through it all, even with the new members just sworn in by the Commander-in-Chief himself. 1 hour ago, roughly, President Trump had comments live in Alberta, Canada, with Prime Minister Carney as they attend the G7 summit in that beautiful province. We will go back to that replay for you in case you missed it. Stick with us through those questions and answers as we're bringing you all of this access to the G7 summit in Canada.
Go ahead, sir. All right, thank you. Mr. President, welcome to Canada. Thank you. It's a great honor. Happy birthday. A few days short. A few days short, but didn't have a chance to see you on the day. Happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7, and the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership of the United States. Many issues, geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. I'm very much looking forward to the meeting and grateful to have you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it, and we've developed a very good relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. And we have a whole group of people, some traders and some other people. I see my top economy people. But we have a very talented group of people, and you do too, and I know they work together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in. And I would say that that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. And you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago. But it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table, so it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot, and I expect to. And I think our primary focus will be trade, and trade with Canada, and I'm sure we can work something out.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so much. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, holding up a deal with Canada.
Say it.
What is holding up a deal with Canada from your perspective?
It's not so much holding up. I think we have different concepts. I have a tariff concept, and Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to see what we're going to come out with something, hopefully.
Do you think a deal is achievable within days, within weeks? Is there that kind of runway?
Yeah, it's achievable. Both parties have to agree. Yeah, sure.
Mr. President, have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about that.
And you mentioned Putin. Do you think that he should have a seat at the G7 today, that it should be the G8?
I'm not saying he should at this point, because too much water's gone over the dam, maybe. But it was a big mistake. Obama didn't want him, and the head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake. You wouldn't have that war. You know, you have your enemy at the table. Even I don't even consider him. He wasn't really an enemy at that time. There was no concept. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But likewise, if he were a member of what was called the G8 at that time, it was always the G8. You wouldn't have a war right now.
Why not? What Israel support and what intelligence support are you providing Israel?
We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly. And Israel's doing very well right now.
Why not have China at the
G8?
Why not have China here, the biggest economy in the world after the United States?
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that. If somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest. But you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk. Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8. As I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted. And, I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it, I can tell you that. He basically doesn't even speak to the people that throw him out, and I agree with him.
On immigration, why are you ordering ICE to target Democratic inner cities? What's behind that?
I don't know what you're saying.
You did a post last night where you said you want ICE to really target Democratic.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities, because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor, but the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. But I look at how that city has been overrun by criminals, and you know, New York and L.A. Look at L.A. L.A. Those people weren't from L.A. They weren't from California, most of those people, many of those people. And yeah, that's a focus. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
That's it. Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So
thank you. Thank you, media. Let's go. Up. Thank you. That's it. That's it. Thank you very much. Out. Go, guys. Out. You gotta go. Thank you. Katie, let's go.
They don't want to.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. President, are you seriously considering you guys are headed out?
Let's go. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go.
Here we go.
And welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. I'm with Matthew Alvarez. Always a pleasure to be together. I'm Robert McNeely. And now we see the good, honorable Prime Minister of Canada coming out to outside of where it's taking place here in Alberta, Canada. And we're going to toss it there live now, see what they have to say.
Her Excellency Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, and Professor Dr. Heiko von der Leyen. Son Excellence, Madame Ursula von der Leyen, Présidente de la Commission européenne, et Professeur Dr. Heiko von der Leyen.
Thank you for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have weather for you and okay, Diana.
We will be spending quite a lot of time together. So looking forward. That's good.
I'm going to go. Diana, you shift out to that one. Ursula does there. Michael, you go. Yeah, there we go. You're the, you know all the protocol.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you go down there.
We'll see you later. Thank you.
Interesting discussion. Okay, hi. See you later. You'll go.
His Excellency Antonio Costa, President of the European Council. Son Excellence, Monsieur Antonio Costa, Président du Conseil européen.
Hello, Mark. Good morning. Good to see you. Great to see you. It's good. We arranged the weather, and this is my wife, Diana. Oh, nice to meet you today. Thank you very much for your very kind gift for my wife. You were beautifully yes. Diana had a sound. So I guess we'll be... I will, exactly. You know what she might do? She may come. I think you just took
His Excellency Friedrich Merz, Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, and Mrs. Charlotte Merz. Son Excellence, Monsieur Friedrich Merz, Chancelier de la République fédérale d'Allemagne, et Madame Charlotte Merz.
Thank you for enduring our football talk. This is my wife, man. Thank you.
His Excellency Shigeru Ishiba, Prime Minister of Japan, and Mrs. Yoshiko Ishiba. Son Excellence, Monsieur Shigeru Ishiba, Premier ministre du Japon, et Madame Yoshiko Ishiba.
Yeah, coming here. My wife is on. So you go that way. Yes, my wife's on it. Okay. Is that the left?
The Right Honorable Sir Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Le Très Honorable Sir Keir Starmer, Premier ministre du Royaume-Uni de Grande-Bretagne et d'Irlande du Nord.
You're going to get tired of being created by me. It's always somebody talking to me. It is a good spot. But yes, it's much better. Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be all right. You know the guy. Okay, we'll just stop on one. Yeah, I didn't buy him. Yeah, you're after. Oh. Of course, you'll have no time to down the window. Very good. All right. Okay. Yeah. And I'll see you in a moment. Yeah. Very much.
Her Excellency Giorgia Meloni, President of the Council of Ministers of the Italian Republic. Son Excellence Madame Giorgia Meloni, Présidente du Conseil des ministres de la République italienne. The Honorable Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. L'Honorable Donald J. Trump, Président des États-Unis d'Amérique.
Beautiful. I know. It's so beautiful. It's good. Thank you. Thanks for really appreciate it. Yeah, this is a big. I got to introduce my wife. My wife Diana. You go over there. I'll put you in the middle. Okay, good. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Put the together for it. We got the fridge and the other day. We said 100% chance of rain. I thought it was supposed to be. But that's how it's 50 years over here. Okay, thank you. You good? Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you come this way, yeah, and then we'll step on.
On the bunker buster roster, are you considering sending bunker busters to Israel, sir? Any more weapons to Israel, sir?
His Excellency Emmanuel Macron, President of the French Republic. Son Excellence, Monsieur Emmanuel Macron, Président de la République française.
Monsieur le Président. Bienvenue. Tout va bien. Oui, moi aussi. Mais tu écoutes très difficile, moi. Oui, et puis il faut bien. J'ai une route très plate.
Teacher, pull number 2.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. It's 1 o'clock on the East Coast, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning Mountain Time in Alberta, Canada, for the official kickoff of the G7 meetings. I'm Robert McNeely with my esteemed colleague Matthew Alvarez. Always good to be with you at the desk. An exciting time for President Trump to really push that peace through strength initiative in this foreign trip.
Exactly. So all of that international trade agreements and all of the different things they'll be discussing throughout the course of the next 48 hours. Any news that comes out of the G7, of course, you can count on us here at Right Side for all of the information. And Robert, that photo that you showed when you were out there in Alberta, was that Banff National Park?
It was just north of that.
Okay.
So we actually did a biking trip from Banff all the way to Jasper and back. Takes roughly about a week to do that, but you fly into Calgary, and Banff is roughly an hour by plane, train, or automobile all the way up there, and it's God's country. It's truly incredible, especially in the summertime. If you like mountains, this is the place to go, and these world leaders not too far from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, my perspective is pretty much the Rocky Mountains, western slope of Colorado there. Never have seen what you saw there, and those photos are great. I mean, beautiful God's country, to your point. So awesome to see that you did that, and maybe we could all take a trip there and report live from the 51st state one of these days.
One of these days. And I'm wondering if that was part of the discussion this morning at all with President Trump and Prime Minister Carney. We saw they had a press gaggle right before that bilateral meeting with their counterparts, as well as Pete Hoekstra in the mix now, the United States ambassador to Canada, the great Michigander, a former congressman and also Senate candidate, also ran the Michigan GOP in an extraordinary way as chairman, also with his counterpart on hand, as well as the great Secretary Bessent, Secretary Rubio, and also many others who are pushing this peace through strength foreign policy.
It's always great to have President Trump leading that effort. And speaking of a Trump, let's go to Eric Trump of the Trump organization there at Trump Tower in New York City. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Right Side. Definitely. So this is 10 years since the golden escalators, of course. What's that like, now that you're celebrating that?
You guys are going to go to the right and do this government. I'm going to go left. When we go in the room, I'm going to go straight. You guys take the right. He's going to be closest to you. Hey, if you prefer about the audio, probably couldn't hear what Trump was saying.
Okay, we're going to go closer again.
Gently, guys. Gently. Easy, guys.
No. Sorry, I'm just waiting for her.
Need to get down.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to Kananaskis and the 2025 G7 Leaders Summit. I'm pleased all leaders are here, honored by your presence. In my home province, Alberta, in the heart of the Canadian Rockies, I'd note that we are also meeting on Treaty 7 territory. These are the traditional lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, and the Tsuut'ina First Nations. And we're gathering at one of those turning points in history. I think we all recognize that turning point where the world looks to this table for leadership. 50 years ago, in France, a group of leading industrial nations got together in the face of global economic and financial crisis. The end of the international monetary system is known. Stagflation threatening. Challenges in the Middle East, geopolitical challenges in the Middle East. And it was the frank, informal discussions around that table in Rambouillet that led to a long period of decisions and prosperity at that time. Alors, nous avons la chance d'avoir le doyen du G7 avec Monsieur le Président maintenant. And then following the fall of the Berlin Wall, the G7 gathered to integrate those countries that had been behind the Iron Curtain of communism and to accelerate the flow of capital and trade to the developing world. 23 years ago, the G7 met here in Kananaskis. We were just talking about it. And that was when the world was still reeling from the aftershocks of 9/11, another turning point in history. And amongst the many decisions taken were control of the spread of weapons of mass destruction, a subject that we'll be coming back to. So as I said, we're meeting at one of those hinge moments, those turning points in history. The world's more divided and dangerous. Hostile states and terrorists have expanded their capabilities and their reach, threatening global security in our local communities. Global commerce, energy systems, even intelligence are all being rewired. En tant que membre du G7, nous avons la possibilité de façonner le monde de demain. Le monde plus sûr, plus prospère, plus juste et plus libre. Mais le G7 doit s'adapter pour arriver à ses fins. Nostalgia isn't a strategy. We have to change with the times and to build a better world. And some of you, such as you, Mr. President, have anticipated these massive changes and are taking bold measures to address them. All of us around this table are reinforcing our militaries and security services for the new world. But we all know that there can be no security without economic prosperity and no prosperity without resilience. And in a world where shocks flow across the borders, that resilience comes from cooperation. Cooperation that starts around this table. Cooperation that can lead to a new era of prosperity, energy security and critical minerals, artificial intelligence, quantum, combating human smuggling and transnational repression. So we will have open, frank discussions over the course of the next 2 days. We might not agree on absolutely every issue, but where we will cooperate, we will make an enormous difference for our citizens and for the world, and bring the next era of prosperity, I hope, to the benefit of those we serve. Avec tout cela, merci beaucoup aux membres de media. Thank you, colleagues. We have some work to do, which will begin in a moment. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order.
No. Sorry, I'm just waiting for it. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to Kananaskis and the 2025 G7 Leaders Summit. I'm pleased all leaders are here, honored by your presence. In my home province, Alberta, in the heart of the Canadian Rockies, I'd note that we are also meeting on Treaty 7 territory. These are the traditional lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, and the Tsuut'ina First Nations. And we're gathering at one of those turning points in history. I think we all recognize that turning point where the world looks to this table for leadership. 50 years ago, in France, a group of leading industrial nations got together in the face of global economic and financial crisis. The end of the international monetary system is known. Stagflation threatening, challenges in the Middle East, geopolitical challenges in the Middle East. And it was the frank, informal discussions around that table in Rambouillet that led to a long period of decisions and prosperity at that time. Alors, nous avons la chance d'avoir le doyen du G7 avec Monsieur le Président maintenant. And then following the fall of the Berlin Wall, the G7 gathered to integrate those countries that had been behind the Iron Curtain of communism and to accelerate the flow of capital and trade to the developing world. 23 years ago, the G7 met here in Kananaskis. We were just talking about it. And that was when the world was still reeling from the aftershocks of 9/11, another turning point in history. And amongst the many decisions taken were control of the spread of weapons of mass destruction, a subject that we'll be coming back to. So as I said, we're meeting at one of those hinge moments, those turning points in history. The world's more divided and dangerous. Hostile states and terrorists have expanded their capabilities and their reach, threatening global security in our local communities. Global commerce, energy systems, even intelligence are all being rewired. En tant que membre du G7, nous avons la possibilité de façonner le monde de demain. Le monde plus sûr, plus prospère, plus juste et plus libre. Mais le G7 doit s'adapter pour arriver à ses fins. Nostalgia isn't a strategy. We have to change with the times and to build a better world. And some of you, such as you, Mr. President, have anticipated these massive changes and are taking bold measures to address them. All of us around this table are reinforcing our militaries and security services for the new world. But we all know that there can be no security without economic prosperity, and no prosperity without resilience. And in a world where shocks flow across the borders, that resilience comes from cooperation around that starts around this table. Cooperation that can lead to a new era of prosperity, energy security and critical minerals, artificial intelligence, quantum, combating human smuggling and transnational repression. So we will have open, frank discussions over the course of the next 2 days. We might not agree on absolutely every issue, but where we will cooperate, we will make an enormous difference for our citizens and for the world, and bring the next era of prosperity, I hope, to the benefit of those we serve. Avec tout cela, merci beaucoup aux membres de media. Thank you, colleagues. We have some work to do, which will begin in a moment. Thank you very much. Bravo.
and the leaders sitting down for the first time, the G7 summit in Alberta, Canada, and President Trump all smiles around good friends. Traditionally, these nations coming together, we've worked very well together in the past, and I'm sure that will continue forward. Many of them new to the table, including Mark Carney and Keir Starmer. So we'll see how this all unfolds with the new American populist movement that's been known as MAGA. Very simple there.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, over the past 4 months, we've seen a number of these world leaders actually already visit the White House. So looking forward to seeing more of that happening. Also looking forward to seeing a lot of wins domestically. Shifting gears back to Washington, D.C. with your trip there, what were some of the highlights for you that you would like to share with the people that you saw there?
Well, just the vantage point of Constitution Avenue was extraordinary. Roughly 200,000 people expected. From my eye, seeing just around the area, I think we were around that. Of course, the forecast, I think, did stifle some things, probably the bad things mostly, and any potential protests. There were a few with a handful, maybe. I could think Mr. Director and I walked past maybe 10 of them kind of in the vicinity. I mean, they have their signs, and more power to them. You have the freedom of speech to do that, and you should if you feel necessary, but nothing of the No Kings protests that we saw in other parts of the country, including right here in Auburn, seemed to have many more people than even the federal city. So a lovely day of celebration, a lot of people coming in for their summer vacations to enjoy this wonderful, big, beautiful military parade, highlighted by the fireworks, by the singing of God Bless America, and the Army band and choir, just outstanding. Lee Greenwood with his immortal classic as well. It's good to see this golden era happening, and it was great to reflect upon countless generations of American military veterans and those in current active duty, and the technology that was displayed from the beginning of 1775 to now. We have robot dogs that can go in and do the work, and even remote controlled tanks. We saw some of those, including those famous Abrams, among many others, that did not tear up Constitution Avenue. That's another thing that I've been asked. It did not, it almost made it better. So that was really quite a sight to see.
That's awesome. And it was great coverage to see out there in D.C., and then the fireworks at the end, and just that patriotic feel that we all had and have. And of course, July 4th, we'll do that all again. But it's almost every day, it seems, actually, that now that we have President Trump in office, that it's just a patriotic increase of pride that we have out there. Speaking of Eric Trump, we actually just interviewed Eric Trump of the Trump Organization. Our great crew is actually working on getting that interview all ready to go for us to throw to that maybe a bit later. But it was my first ever Trump family interview. I believe it was yours as well. But it was great to speak to Eric. I mean, what a solid person on the right side of history.
And a happy Father's Day to Eric as we celebrated yesterday. A happy first Father's Day to you, Matthew, and all the dads out there who perhaps enjoyed the U.S. Open, perhaps watched the military parade. I met some dads who actually came with their kids and wanted to experience it together. So that was so special. Even in church yesterday, the services, the priest actually talking about just that his father was a corporal in the Army. So thank you for visiting D.C. for Flag Day and for the Army birthday and for President Trump's birthday. And so it was just smiles from ear to ear. So we hope that you had the opportunity at home as well, if you're a dad or your dad's still with you, to get to hug him and perhaps hug your little ones, because it's all about family. That's what we're all about on this network. And I think you'll enjoy this recent interview we just had moments ago with the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, a special sneak peek, TrumpMobile.com, this new source so you can maybe bring down the cost of these guys right here. We all need them, but we know how they've responded so well to the lawfare, the being canceled on different social media platforms. Eric dives into that, including what it's been like. It's 10 years exactly when President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump came down the golden escalator. And Eric mentions this in the interview, how many laughs and jeers. And you think about people like George Clooney and the so-called elitists who said President Trump will never be president. And nothing was farther from the truth, and we saw that over the course of the last decade.
And then Bobby got in a great question too, asking about future political aspirations, whether it's Eric Trump, Don Jr., Laura Trump. You'll have to wait and see for that answer from the great Eric Trump. So again, that interview, will be airing that most likely within the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, as the president, of course, is at the G7 in Canada. So great to see that. And then, of course, later this month to the Netherlands for the NATO summit.
A lot getting done in June, and it's really crucial. Of course, God is with President Trump. God is with this family. This month is the Sacred Heart of Jesus. We honor that. And the beautiful nature of what this country is founded upon, those Judeo-Christian principles. And even in the midst of scary developments the last few days with Israel attacking Iran, it is very humbling to consider that something much worse, I think, could have happened with the auto pen in place. As month after month has really, these onions have been peeled over and over again, these layers, whether it's DOGE, whether it's just revamping the size, the scope of the federal government to make it smaller, we've discovered certain things of the neoliberal and neocon agenda that were really quite frightening. And President Trump, again, just pulling that curtain back, starting with the anniversary of 10 years ago this week. But thank God he's back in office, because there's a lot of turmoil and upheaval within the world.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of it. That 24/7 news cycle doesn't stop, but we are covering everything when it comes to Washington, D.C., this president, and also, things like this, where it's north of the border in Canada for the G7. So any news that comes out of that, we will share it with you, and also go live, as you have today, Robert, to Canada to see the president there with Mr. Carney and the other leaders. All right, so it's 1:26, Monday, June 16th. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. Getting ready to go to that Eric Trump interview that we just did here at the network, and looking forward to it. Isn't it interesting that, speaking of 10 years ago today, the golden escalator, when President Trump's going down that, we're about to celebrate 10 years as well at Right Side Broadcasting Network.
I think about the 10 years of countless organizations. Turning Point USA just turned 13. So many of these freedom-loving movements get organized in the summertime. So it's great that we can do that on the right side of history. And Eric touches on this a bit with, it's hard to think even a few short years ago, people were banned from social media. Why the Ayatollahs and the Iranian theocratic monsters were allowed to stay on the social media giants. And then we had to just make it ourselves. And a lot of people said, you know what? This is the thin red line. I'll put my career on the line. I'll put my, whether it's tech, sales, whatever background you might have, to stand up to those who said, you can't say that, or otherwise I'll make sure you don't have a job. It was very interesting to catch just some tidbits with Andrew Yang. You remember him, the Democrat candidate for mayor of New York. He ran for president of the United States, but had this almost true populist flair and an independent streak, mentioning to John Stossel, famous libertarian and someone in our business, that he actually thought comedians should not be canceled for specific jokes, especially on Saturday Night Live. We've seen that too. And I won't say it on air what this comedian said about Mr. Yang. It was rather offensive. But he said, the thing is, though, he has freedom of speech and he's meant to push the boundaries because he is a comedian. And if it's at my expense, so be it. I'm a public figure. He did not threaten me. He didn't say fire in a theater and then lie about it. He just was making fun of my background and what I wanted to propose on a national scale. So I got to take the arrows. I'm in public life, and it made a lot of sense, and it was refreshing to see someone roughly on the left side of things, but I think Andrew is more of a traditional liberal, and it's good to have a voice like that on the other side that at least wants to break bread and believe in civics again, believe in the Constitution, and put his ideas forward without fear of retribution.
Exactly. So we love, obviously, the Constitution here at this network. We love President Trump. We also love Eric Trump. Take a look at the interview that Robert and I just conducted. Let's go to Eric Trump of the Trump organization there at Trump Tower in New York City. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Right Side.
Great to be on, guys.
Definitely. So this is 10 years since the golden escalators, of course. What's that like, now that you're celebrating that?
Sometimes you have to catch your breath. Guys, I don't know sometimes if it's 10 minutes or 100 years, right? It can kind of feel like either depending on where you sit, but it's been so beautiful in so many ways. At the same time, it was, they tried to take us out. They tried to take us all out. They tried to kill us. They literally tried to kill him. They went after our company in ways you can't even imagine. I became the most subpoenaed person in U.S. history for doing absolutely nothing wrong just because they couldn't get to my father through the executive branch. So guess what? They just attacked his company and us. They impeached him twice. They went after Supreme Court justices. They made up dirty dossiers. They raided his home. They weaponized the DOJ. They weaponized the FBI. I could go on for hours, right? I mean, they tried to take him off the ballots of Colorado and Maine. They pulled him off of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They took away his First Amendment rights. And they weaponized every AG and every DA in the country. And somehow we managed to win 2 elections and arguably a third. But let's just say 2 elections for a second. And it's hard to believe looking back. I don't think you could have made up the story if you had all the time in the world and we're on some pretty powerful stuff. I don't think you could make up that story, and I don't think if you did, anybody would actually believe it. And so it's been a hell of a ride, and sometimes I pinch myself, and sometimes I try and catch my breath. But I'm so incredibly proud of the man, and it's hard to believe it's 10 years.
Eric, I often tell our audience that there's the Trump story, and then there's a Tom Clancy novel. It's almost unbelievable as you laid it out there for us. Now, a decade into this movement, how can Americans celebrate with you today on this anniversary and with your dad currently in Alberta, Canada, pushing the Peace Through Strength agenda 10 years after that famous ride down the Golden Escalator?
You know what? I don't think there's a day that goes by where Americans aren't celebrating with us. I can't walk down a street in New York or California. I'm talking about blue states, let alone obviously red states. Laura and I, my wife and I, can't go out to dinner in Florida without somebody picking up our tab, not even telling, sometimes writing a little note, sending it over, saying, hey, we want to pick up your dinner tonight. It's the greatest honor. Thank you for what you've done for our country. I can't tell you how often we get that. Every day is people celebrating, kind of the fight and what we've all been through. You saw it at the Army Parade this weekend, the 250th anniversary, where literally people are singing, the national anthem. They're saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's just love and unity. And they truly love the man. They love the man. They know what they put him through. They understood that he's the last guy that needed to step into that arena and fight, and he did, at great peril to himself on a lot of fronts. Safety front, legal lawfare front, financial front, a lot of fronts. But again, I can't walk down the street without people giving me a hug saying, hey, thank you for what your parents have done. We love you. We pray for you. Our church prays for you. Our whole family prays for you. And guys, that's a beautiful thing. Believe me, we feel it. We feel it as a family.
And it's awesome. And all of our viewers here too, and the majority of the country, thank you for what you guys have done for all of us. Sincerely, thank you, Eric, and to the Trump family. Let's shift over to Trump Mobile. Quite the announcement today, Eric. Tell us about it.
So, guys, technology all started when, they deplatformed us from Twitter back in the day. I think everybody remembers that. And then Zuckerberg did it from Facebook and a lot of other ones, right? There was massive censorship. So guess what we had to do? We had to stand up our own kind of digital company, Truth Social, in order to kind of combat that. And then, fast forward, a couple months, and every bank in this country was canceling us for no reason whatsoever other than the fact that we wore a red hat that said "Make America Great Again." And these are banking relationships that I've had for 30 years, running hotels and golf courses and everything else. And they threw us to the wolves. And so guess what we had to do? We had to get into kind of crypto. We created World Liberty Financial, which is probably the greatest crypto platform, in my opinion, ever created. And what we're doing is incredible. And then really the third part of this is getting into technology is actually that kind of hard device. And it feels like people for years have gotten ripped off on their cell phone plans. They're paying too much. There's fine print that allows these cell phone companies to, kind of boost the fees and expenses and cost of cell phones every single year without you knowing. They offer very, very little. They do nothing special. They outsource all their tech support to, Bangladesh or wherever the hell it is around the world. So we created a company, Trump Mobile, TrumpMobile.com, $47 a month. Very, very simple. The features of the phone are unbelievable. You can get an eSIM, so anybody's phone works on the platform. Customer service comes out of St. Louis, Missouri, and not Bangladesh, not India, not one of these places. Comes out of St. Louis, Missouri. We're building, phones. We're going to start building phones in America for Americans, with American customer service, with American security, with features that aren't offered by any of these other phones, and we're really excited about it. Really, really excited about it. It's, in fact, we launched it a couple hours ago. It's hard to even get on the website right now. We had, I think, 18,000 people At one time on the website, they were trying to almost crash it. That's how much volume we had, and the reception has been incredible. So really proud of Trump Mobile. It's going to be a great venture, and I think it kind of ties the technology worlds together.
And you have some special services that other providers simply don't offer, like a roadside service as part of the TrumpMobile.com. Can you explain further what that entails?
Yeah, well, there's 100 services that we're either including now or will come in the future. But roadside service, telehealth. I mean, how many times do you guys get a sore throat? You want to get a Z-Pack, and you're too lazy to walk to your doctor, but you don't have time. You've got, it's not even too lazy. You're just busy schedules. So telehealth has to go on phones at some point, right? We're so we're just incompetently behind as a country. If you have that ability to get basic prescriptions and other things, why wouldn't you do it? And so telehealth will be a big part of it. Roadside assistance will be a part of it. And then I think in time, I think there's obviously massive abilities to integrate cryptocurrency platforms, other platforms that we're working on, and 1,000 other features that are so ordinary in people's everyday lives that should just be matter of fact on phone. But again, in hopefully the next 6 months, we're going to be manufacturing the phones in the United States. And so it's kind of, we'll all be done here in our shores, employing American people at $47 a month. We're going to do it cheaper, faster, better, safer than any of the other providers, and we're incredibly excited about it.
That's awesome. This conservative marketplace is just growing by leaps and bounds, specifically now with Trump Mobile. So what if someone's watching right now, what's the first step that they have to take to be a part of the whole team at Trump Mobile?
Very simple. Go to TrumpMobile.com. Sign up, get your eSIM card or a hard SIM card. We'll send one of those to you too if you've got an old model phone. But for most people, you're just getting an eSIM card. You put that number in, and you're on Trump Mobile. I mean, it's a relatively very simple process. It's not hard at all, and using the biggest networks in the country, operated by people who have built some of the greatest cell phone companies in our nation. And we're excited about the collaboration and partnership.
Now, what else can we expect from this exciting TrumpMobile.com? And I have to ask, Eric, there is a lot of talent in your family, especially politically. You've learned from the best. Is there any chance we can see a Don Jr. in the future, an Eric Trump, a Laura Trump running for higher office?
Yeah. Listen, guys, I always say never to anything, right? I think we understand the game. Going in 2016, I couldn't tell you what a delegate was. I couldn't tell you what a caucus was in a state like Iowa, right? And don't laugh for the people watching this because you couldn't either. I literally ask people all the time to laugh at that. I'll say, okay, explain the Iowa caucus process, right? And they can't even start. And we were such kind of political virgins, to say the least. I mean, our whole lives were building buildings, building hotels, operating great companies. And I think, honestly, it was a great benefit to us because we just didn't listen to the political consultants. Frankly, most of them didn't believe in us, so they wouldn't even come on our team, or were taken by the Jeb Bushes of the world. And, so much they did for him, right? But, my father, myself, Don, my wife, clearly, our family, we went out there and we fought, and it was amazing. And I think we really understood the political process over 3 cycles. And I think we'd all be very, very good at it, to tell you the truth. Like, you think you could pick any of us and we'd be good at it. That differs from the question of whether or not you'd want to do it. I mean, you better have a family that's prepared for it. You better buckle up your seatbelt. Guys, they're coming for you. If you do it, they're absolutely coming for you. They're coming for your kids. It's the weaponization of the political system is nothing short of scary. And I never thought I'd believe it. And frankly, if I could reverse 10 years, I would have never believed kind of the saga. At the same time, it's so wonderful. My father's doing a great job. When I see him not entering wars that any of the other, politicians on both sides of the aisle would have gotten dragged into in exactly 6 seconds because it benefits the military-industrial complex of this nation, and people are making an absolute fortune on it. I cheer. Or when he's trying to end wars, when he's trying to reduce taxes, when he's trying to save people money, when he's trying to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. It makes me so happy that somebody's in there with some common sense and some accountability, doing the right things for this nation. And this is a guy who can't be bribed, he can't be bought, he can't be coerced. He's a guy who wants to put the American people first. He doesn't need anything in life, and that's what makes him unapologetic. And again, I'm just proud of the man. I'm really, really proud of the man. He's a remarkable human being. He's my best friend in the world, and it's today's really a great day to celebrate. It really is. 10 years is a great day to celebrate after again the hell that they put him through and our entire family.
100%. Every day we thank God for your dad, to be honest with you, leading this nation. And Eric, thank you so much again for you and the whole Trump family for what you do for we the people, standing for us every day. Eric Trump, everybody, thank you so much again from the Trump organization, TrumpMobile.com. Eric, again, thank you for joining us on Right Side.
Guys, thanks.
Our special thanks to the Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization, Eric Trump. We look forward to having him on again, the right side of history.
Yeah, it was great to be able to have that one-on-one interview with him today. Again, this is 10 years. Today is 10 years since President Trump and the First Lady went down that escalator, the golden escalators at Trump Tower. I actually one time went to Trump Tower and I said, well, I want to ride down those escalators, so I did too. So it's just good stuff, and you can actually do that as well at Trump Tower. But what a day. Can you believe it? It's been 10 years since that's happened.
It's been an amazing journey for countless people, because I've said it before, there is one person who has directly and indirectly affected my career in an extraordinary way, and that man is President Donald Trump. And I'm forever grateful not only for the opportunities, the doors that have opened for my own career, but just simply being an American. And it's a pleasure to see a family truly protected by God. That was such a poignant answer by Eric. Do you want to do it? So many times you have to ask that question, because you should. If you're about to enter this arena, ask your spouse, ask your kids. And on this past Father's Day just yesterday, how special is it to have that respect? As Eric said, he's my most dearest friend. And to have that respect of an adult child, it just speaks volumes of the person who raised him. And President Trump really sacrificing so much, in turn, his children, his grandchildren, to help serve this great nation.
It's 1:41, Monday, June 16th. There's nothing more for me to say. That's a ditto right there. So thanks so much for watching this coverage.
A pleasure to be with you as President Trump attends G7 and meets with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. We'll see if it's a beautiful province. Maybe it will all be the 51st state. We wonder if they discussed that this morning, but I'm sure many developments to come with this meeting of friends and allies, the 7 largest economies in the entire world. For my friend here, Matthew Alvarez, I'm Robert McNeely. For all of our colleagues at Right Side Broadcasting Network, stick with us. We'll see you tomorrow unless there's breaking news. Have a wonderful afternoon. God bless you. Stay on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.